And no Rop because his immune system is, well, it's Rop. So we have a West Coast Bias edition. Andrew Nemec joins me, and of course, little Stevie, our new producer there behind the glass. Gentlemen, how are you enjoying this spring part 2? I mean, this is like amazing out here. I didn't even wear like a jacket today. I brought a sweatshirt. No, I went straight short sleeve t-shirt today. It's like 58 degrees outside. Stellar.
I took the dog for a walk yesterday at 8 o'clock, and all I had on, pants and a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like beanie, raincoat, the whole thing. Just a sweatshirt, and felt comfortable doing that.
Yeah,
it was okay.
Stellar outside. Look, unless you're a Duck fan, look at that. Little Stevie shedding the layers. He's going short sleeves as well. It's a great day unless you're like a Duck fan. If you're a Duck fan, and if you listen to the station, there's a good chance you are. I'm sorry, but that was an electric week of football. Like that, even if you're a Blazer fan. I know they lost to the Knicks, but the Blazers are kind of good. College football was hot. I mean, it was, we got in the midst of the playoff. We got great storylines. Every game in the NFL playoff, except for one, was a banger. It was a great weekend of sports. Just not so much if you're Oregon.
The hit rate on sporting activities, events, very, very high. Normally, as you get further down the degree of difficulty of continuing to win and getting further in the playoffs, you start to see some bad games. What was it? 80% of the sporting events this weekend were legitimately good.
Yeah.
The Patriots-Chargers was a mess. The Duck game was a mess, and I'm sure we'll talk about both extensively. Beyond that, almost every game, pretty good.
Yeah. And I got a text last night, and I would like to point out that it was about 3 or 4 months ago that Rob proclaimed that his immune system is fixed. He did make a proclamation on the show because we're mentioning the fact that we're going into the cold season and like buckle up, and Rob got all offended by it and had this big pushback like, I fixed my immune system and I haven't been sick in forever. This is now we're going on 3 illnesses for Isaac Robb. The last one knocked him out for an entire week, so I got the text message late last night and it just said, on my back, feels like the same as last time. Hopefully we'll recover sooner. Let you know in the morning. So I texted Nemec and I was like, hey, Chance Rob's out tomorrow. And he's like, well, do you know? And I say, he said it was the same as last time. So my guess is there will not be a miraculous recovery. And then this morning I just got the out. Talk to you later.
As a new guy here, I've been a listener for years before this. Yeah. I feel like this is like a yearly thing that Rob's like, I'm going to be healthy this year. This is the year. Yeah. And then it's every year he's sick all the time.
Isaac Robb is the San Francisco 49ers of the fan. Look, when the guy's healthy, he performs. He goes out there and ball. You can't question the track record when it comes to wins and losses. But I'll tell you what, though, if you're counting on availability with Rob, it's tough.
Can't win the big one.
You can't. Well, he's hurt a lot. He's hurt a lot. That's the only. You can't quite get over that hump. I don't know if this is an Achilles. I don't know if we're dealing with some tendonitis here. We'll find out. But just when he proclaims that the injury bug is over, it will rear its ugly head.
Here's how bad it is. I have a 7-year-old, so when I come and fill in, I have the sitter on notice. So when you text me, Rob is out, I then immediately always hit up the sitter.
Yeah.
And the sitter said, is Rob out again? Because she knows like what I do and stuff. Is Rob out again? Yes. And the next text I got was, so multiple days then, ? And I couldn't even blame her. So multiple days then. You know what?
It's
probably, maybe.
The availability report at this point, I believe Rob is somewhere between questionable and doubtful. I mean, let's be honest. When I got that text, he was out. I officially ruled him out. Going forward this week, we'll put that as questionable. I can't say doubtful, although I can kind of say that. I'm making the official proclamation right now. Doubtful for Tuesday, questionable for the rest of the week.
Are you calling him the Ricky Pearsall of sports radio?
He is. He's more talented than Ricky Pearsall.
That's more talented. Just availability.
Joel Embiid.
There you go.
That's good. That's good.
Like that.
Yes,
MVP,
thank you.
But
he's an MVP, but man,
good.
it's dicey. You never know. He goes down a lot, and you're like, oh my god.
But when he's here, it's excellent.
I saw Anthony Davis is out again. This time with like a hand. He's got like some sort of thumb tendon. So maybe he's somewhere in between because
he's an NBA big man. That's what he is.
He's somewhere between Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid.
Do you think that Anthony Davis kept the unibrow because he was concerned if he plucked him, he'd get hurt in the process somehow
some sort
with
of
the
weird
tweezers?
Faustian
Like
deal?
I'm going to get hurt if I do this. I get hurt doing anything. I'm not plucking my eyebrow.
I think I saw a thing on him where he said it was like a branding thing. Like someone asked him about it, and he goes, "Well, I can't." Strahan said this too with the gap in the teeth.
Yeah,
he said at some point it's like he's known as the brow. Like you have to, like he just leaned into it and was like, "This is." Because normally when you get to the NBA, you get to the NFL, if you've got janky teeth or like a weird brow, you get the Hollywood makeover, the Carrie Underwood, if you will.
Yeah.
You throw the big chiclets in there and you get groomed and you get a better diet. And Kevin Love, right? Kevin Love had that weird neck beard and like 30 extra pounds when he was at UCLA. Gets to the NBA, hangs out in LA a little bit more, loses some weight, grows a real beard. And all. Yeah, Kevin Love's now dating like models. Like it happens. But at some point, like if you're Davis, you just stay the course.
Yeah, to Anthony Davis, he had janky teeth in college.
Yeah.
And he got those fixed, but he kept the brow. Like how hard would it be just, a little zip there?
Yeah,
it wouldn't be that hard, I don't feel
at
like.
some point, like I said, you just kind of, you lean into it. You are who you are at that point.
Do you think Popeye Jones kept that look because he was going for a trademark thing?
No, it was just he had a whole sloth thing happening.
Okay.
I was just
okay.
No, but you're a good looking guy. Sometimes you can't do anything about this, all right?
There's a limit to like Popeye Jones went, it's not gonna happen.
I could only do so much.
Too many fixes.
Yeah. I would like to see what would happen, like if he because there's no such thing as being ugly, you're just poor. Like I'm telling you, look at the Kardashians. Look at every one of the Kardashians. There was one of those that like looks like she lived under that was OJ's kid. She was like the troll. She like lived under the bridge, the one that was like with
Khloe?
Lamar. Khloe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at like early Khloe Kardashian. And I'm telling you, now they're worth like $1 billion. You're not ugly, you're just poor.
Look at Jordan Woods.
Yes.
Their assistant.
Yeah.
Have you seen the before and afters on Jordan Woods? She's dating Karl Anthony Towns now, I think, right? Isn't that the big guy she's dating? Yeah. She was not real attractive.
Yeah.
And now she looks like the plastic version of attractive.
Yeah. Look at that. No one is ugly. You're just poor. Go I always say the Carrie Underwood thing. If you ever want like a woe, look at Carrie Underwood when she first went on American Idol, and then when she won it, you get the trainer, you get the nutritionist, right? You probably get some HGH, lean you out a little bit. You get the professional makeup. You get everything. You get like everything kind of figured out. And then like they package you and they ship you out there and it's like all of a sudden, yeah, you can sing and now you're hot.
The ultimate's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Right? The combine picture.
Yeah.
And now he looks like a Greek god now.
Yeah, except now he's going the other way. He's going to start looking like an aging lesbian, but that is inevitable.
But isn't that hot in Hollywood?
That is probably hot. That's what happens. Yeah, it happens a little bit. So I always wonder, like, if I became like famous, like, could you do something with this, or is like the canvas?
No, you're trademark white supremacist. Everybody knows this. That's your thing.
Yeah, I just showed
That's
up
your
and like
shtick.
I had like the Urlacher hair, and I was just like, "Hey, everybody!" Like at some point, you are who you are. But I'd like to believe that most of us, with the proper resources, you too could graduate from the Lank Thompson Handsome Boy Academy. Yeah, you could come away. You just get some plugs in there and get a tan, get in shape. Everyone's like if you like a Marvel movie. When you sign up to do like a Marvel movie, like Paul Rudd was the sexiest man alive after he got Ant-Man. Why? You get some trainers and get a lot of drugs going in your system, and you sell your soul to the devil to make a famous movie, and next thing you know, you're
Chris Pratt.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say that from Parks and Rec to what he was,
the funny chubby guy,
on Guardians of the Galaxy,
to the hottest guy in Hollywood.
Yeah. See, there you go. That works.
I mean, he dumped Anna Faris because he was too hot.
Yeah. Well, he got too famous.
The Chris Prattification of athletes is what we're talking about right now. That's exactly where I thought we'd go in the first segment. Chris Pratt, he's hot now, right? Yeah, right. He's hot now.
Well, he's like an action star.
Yeah.
Like he makes terrible action movies. He's trying to become the white version of The Rock. Like Chris Pratt used to be awesome, and he made like it was funny, like kind of good like TV shows, and had a couple like kind of minor parts in movies, and now he makes like bad Netflix like action films. He's becoming some sort of version of The Rock or Jean-Claude Van Damme, a modern day Steven Seagal, if you will, where he plays like he's always like an ex-Navy SEAL, which by the way, for like a fat guy, that has to be the ultimate like ego boost. is you spent your whole life basically in some like tub that no one paid any attention to, and now you get to make movies where you're like the Zohan. You're like, yeah, you're the baddest of the bad. You're like Liam Neeson out there. Like that has to be like the ultimate fat guy fantasy. Like the Kevin James is trying to do that. Every fat guy wants to lean out and be like a Hollywood action star.
So we're very simpatico with these comments that are being made. I was thinking the comedic version of that, like there's The Rock and Chris Pratt that does just bad action movies.
Yeah.
The bad comedy version of this, once you get big, is Kevin James, who I was just thinking of, and Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Where you just, you know what? I'm popular enough. I can just lob in some fastballs that are at 87 and I'll stay on a contract and be the Jamie Moyer of comedy. I'm the fifth guy in the rotation. I'm fine.
Yes.
That's the move.
Adam Sandler is the greatest human being of all time. By all accounts, he seems like a pretty nice guy. Worked his ass off, got super talented, and got super famous, and now just like makes horrible movies. He doesn't care. He's fat and out of shape. Every like hot girl plays his wife in the movies, and he just gets all of his buddies and pays them to make these terrible movies, and he just keeps getting paid. It's like it's the American dream. Like if you had to change places with one person, it's Adam Sandler.
A Happy Madison production.
Yeah, let's see how fat and slappy I can get, and then be like, Salma Hayek is my wife in the movie. And by the way, all of my friends that can't get a job anywhere else, here's a couple $1 million. Let's hang out for 4 months and make Grown Ups like part 7 that no one will like, but it will run on Netflix and we'll all get paid. Like everyone should strive. And by the way, continue to be like the nicest guy that no one has a bad word to say about. The man's an American treasure.
It's true. His hit rate is really, really high. Not in terms of quality of movie, but in every decision he makes, it's a lifestyle choice. And you're like, yeah, is this script absolutely terrible? Sure. Is it controversial in any way? Nope. You're going to stay right on top as a solid 7 to 8 who gets to do the 10 lifestyle.
And a bunch of people are going to show up for Happy Madison, whatever the hell, part 9. Is it, or not Billy Madison.
Happy Gilmore 2. Which I still haven't seen. I feel bad, but I just want the nostalgia of Happy Gilmore being great, and I'm like, this is just gonna
don't watch
ruin
it. Don't watch it. Yeah. If you want to just have that thought, because like my kid watched the first Happy Gilmore, so he was super excited about 2, so he watched it. I'm good after seeing it one more time. Like I don't need to see it again. And Sandler did have a quote, guys, a couple days ago. He said, I'll make at least 50 more movies before I dead, and at least 25 will be good. Like that's literally his quote.
He gets it. Yeah.
I love Adam Sandler. If I ever meet him, I just want to hug him and be like, everyone in Hollywood should be you. If the world was more Adam Sandler, it would be a better place.
While wearing basketball shorts.
Like oversized and one basketball
2004 version.
Not carried. All right, we've delayed it long enough. We got so much to get to today, so we're going to jump in. We tried to push it off as far as we can.
Rip off that Band-Aid.
Rip off the Band-Aid, because I did say I raise my hand when I'm right. I raise my hand when I'm wrong. I had Indiana winning the game. I was very confident in Indiana winning. But I did say on Thursday before we exited, I can't see a world where this isn't a one-score game in the fourth quarter. I thought this would be a close battle and that Indiana would pull it out because I thought Indiana was the better team. I was wrong. I apologize. I was wrong, and I was wrong by a lot. So we start with college football. We'll rip the Band-Aid off. Oregon, Indiana. What the hell was that, and the aftermath when we come back? A West Coast biased edition, because if you didn't know, me and this stooge over here, we do a dumb little side project. This is like my band, and then I have a little side project band, like a little garage band, called West Coast Bias, where we talk exclusively football with a focus on West Coast. You can find it where all the, you find your podcasts and whatnot, and Spotify and all those fun places, YouTube. So if you ever are interested in what we talk about when we're not here, when Rob is sick, there you go. So a West Coast edition, West Coast Bias edition of Primetime when we come back, right here on 105.1 The Fan.
The Fan Sports Network is your home for the college football. Fan Sports Network, 105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Welcome back in. So we had no show on Friday because, well, Ducks.
Strangely, they also no showed.
No showed. Well, so did their fans. It was a weird vibe. So I think as that game got closer, it felt like everyone, the only reason that anyone thought Oregon was going to win was because everyone thought Indiana was going to win, right? When there's the narrative that there's one team that everyone's picking and no one can really make a case for the other team, especially when the wagon is Indiana, I think you naturally start trying to find a way. In fact, I mentioned our little podcast. We did an entire pod where we did, if Oregon wins, this is how they do it, because it when we did preview the game, both of us were like, well, Indiana wins. And we were like, well, should we do something to maybe give Oregon fans like a little bit of hope? Because it was like, is it kind of lame that we're just both there being like, nah, Indiana's going to win this game. And that, it was the narrative of everyone thinks Indiana and then the talent ranking. I just think at the end of the day, I think that's what was causing people some pause, is we saw all the things, right? 55, I think it was 55 5- and 4-star kids for Oregon and like 3 for Indiana or whatever it was. The talent gap was so great. And the first game was close enough so you could squint. It was 6 minutes left. It was a tie ball game. And, second time around, it's harder to beat a team that beats you schematically, but maybe not physically overwhelms you. So all of those things, you can kind of try to find a path where Oregon should be competitive in this game and maybe find a way to turn the tables and it be a close game and Oregon come away with a win. And then the first play of the game, and it just felt like Oregon never regained their footing whatsoever after that.
It was brutal. And you look, and now the narrative becomes, as we get through this game, the narrative becomes that this coaching staff, and this is the knock, and you've heard this, I'm sure. I've certainly heard it a lot of times. Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupoi are pretty easy to scheme for. Yeah. That if you face them a second time, they don't change a lot of things. What is Indiana known for? Scheming up stuff. Yeah. So what happens? Well, the first play is a speed out. How many speed out routes have you seen jumped on a first play in your entire life past the high school or junior high level? It doesn't happen unless someone has an absolute bead on you. Yeah. And that's what it looked like to me. And you look at last year's game against Ohio State. It looked like Chip Kelly was salivating going into that game against Oregon. It's like, I know all their weaknesses. They don't mask their weaknesses really well. And that's what it felt like happened in that game. And it just got away from them. And I really thought, when you look at it, that first pick, you can get over that, right? And they did. And they put a drive together where they hit a drag route that had been there in the first matchup. And you go, okay, they're seeing some things. They ripped a seam ball to Johnson for the touchdown during a blitz. The offensive line picked it up. Picking up the blitz was a problem in the first edition of that game. Ripping that seam route was a problem. So it's like, hey, they're really correcting some stuff. You can give Indiana, who's a very well-coached team, you can give them 7 and somehow come back. You can't give them that fumble with Dier Hill. You cannot give them a blocked punt. You cannot give them as many miscues. And it seemed like Oregon would have been up against it without those turnovers. That Indiana was more prepared for that game. Yeah. But then you throw in the nightmare scenario of spotting them 7. They get the ball coming out of the half. Great clock management by them to score on both ends out of the half. You've got the Dier Hill fumble, the block. It just snowballed for them, and it was quick. Yeah. And my concern is now 2 years in a row, Oregon has had their season ended by who we expect to be the national champion, to be fair to them, playing a team a second time who just says, we've got their number. This thing's going to be over before the 2-minute warning in the second quarter. Yeah. And that's concerning. And that would, as if I'm Dan Lanning, that would have me thinking, I might want to bring in an outside hire at a quarterback position and then somebody to help me with the defense to self-scout us a little bit to say, here's where our tendencies are because we're showing way too much. Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, we think both hires are going to come from within because that's been the rumor, but we don't know. None of those things have been official. But yeah, at this point, I certainly would want to look outside the program, but I get why if the inside hires are coming and you end up promoting, I get why. End of the year, transfer portal, trying to keep your roster together, keep it. I get the idea of promoting from within. I do, especially in this weird stage where you're at. Remember, they're operating in a portal scheme while still preparing to try to win a national title. I get why it's easier to just circle the wagons and say, hey, we're all just staying put here.
And that happened a week before signing day, which is really important because they had an elite recruiting class.
So, where we go from here, I don't know. But yeah, if you want, and we'll actually talk about the game itself, but if you want to look big picture going forward, we both kind of had the idea, and I think behind the scenes, Oregon would even tell you, this was not the year. Next year is supposed to kind of be we hit the ground running. Now, I do think this year, as the season went on, you looked around and you said, well, why not us? I mean, you lost one game all year, and it was a close game to what now appears to be, well, the national title, or at least one of the two best teams in the country. And so I think you kind of microwaved that a little bit. But when you look at everything that's coming back, and I'm still waiting on a Dante Moore decision, but the trajectory of this program, and I think Jeff Schwartz kind of pointed this out, every year under Dan Lanning, they've gotten better. And you look at these last 2 years, yeah, it's ended in the most gargantuan flop you could have. But more than likely, you can, when this thing is all over, if Indiana finishes it off, your only loss over the last 2 years will be to the national champions. Now, both of those losses are horrific, and that's not where you want to go. But it does feel like the program is in... it's in an ascension. It certainly hasn't flattened off. And I know it's hard for people to realize that. In the moment I heard from Duck Fan that was Dante Moore sucks, and we need to get rid of him, and Lanning can't win the big one, and blah, blah, blah. And for every team that isn't named Ohio State last year or is not named Indiana this year, every team goes through this. Miami has been bitching about Mario Cristobal since he got there. And had they not made the playoffs, they would have been bitching about Mario Cristobal again. And right now, everyone's in love with Mario Cristobal. But if they get the belt to the ass against Indiana, we're going to go right back down in South Florida bitching about Mario Cristobal. So it's kind of the notion of it. But when you pull back from a 30,000 foot view, I don't know how you don't view this as a program still on the rise for Oregon and they're in the right space. I don't know what you would want other than winning a national title to say that this program is heading in the right direction.
But isn't that the problem, though, Suk, is that Oregon, yes, we know they can recruit. We know all their coaching staff can recruit. But it's all the X's and O's. It's all the game planning stuff. When you got to the biggest games, you have gotten whooped, and the game is over, like you said, before the first half is even done with. Now you're gonna upgrade from within. You're gonna promote from within. You're not gonna go out and get an X's and O's guy. You're gonna keep all the recruiting guys. It's not about the talent at this point. You have the talent. You need to have some type of coach that can get you over the hump. As you said, those other coaches from Indiana and Ohio State, they're salivating to play Oregon in the playoffs because they know they can out-game plan them. That's my problem. I think Lanning's the guy. Lanning's the dude for sure, but he needs someone else in there to help him game plan, a veteran coach that just wants to be an analyst or something to get this team over the hump because, look, this is, for me, it's graded like a class, and the final is worth 40% of your grade. They have failed the final both years.
Here's
so that
miserably.
Right. So overall, maybe they get a C or a C minus, but that F at the end of the year, that is so much. That weighs so much on my mind that they need to change something up.
So collectively, and not just speaking specifically to your points, but fans who feel your way. Two things: the biggest game is the biggest game until you win it, and then the next game becomes the biggest game. Yeah. They get an A+ for Texas Tech. Had you lost to Texas Tech, people would say he can't win the big one. Well, they beat Texas Tech and they shut them out. And we all agree that was the best defensive performance that we've seen from an Oregon team in a postseason game ever. They beat Penn State last year in the Big Ten title game. That was a huge game. They beat Ohio State at Ohio State a couple years ago. That was the biggest game. They beat Ohio State at home last year. That was so. Unless you win the national title, as long as you make the college football playoff, anything other than winning the national title is, well, you failed the final, right? Yeah. And the fact that the final, the air quotes here if we're going along with that analogy, is always a college football playoff game, by the way, where you lose only to the national champion, means you're doing a lot right. And my biggest issue right now, not with what you had to say, but generally with Duck Fan, at some point you have to agree that your coach has accrued enough respect, not from a recruiting standpoint, from a being 48-8 standpoint in his first 4 seasons. We are going to stop, regardless of one game, regardless of 4 quarters, we are going to stop criticizing and saying, maybe Dan Lanning's not the guy. Stop that. We've seen what happens with coaching turnover at these college programs. They have a mass exodus. They start again from square one. Dan Lanning's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the ship you're on.
Yes.
And there's no getting off that ship.
No, it is not.
And
This is not a 3-hour tour. You're stranded on an island for years and years and years.
It's headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
You have not won the big one yet, by the way, in just a handful of years, because you've decided the big one is the national title.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, had they made the national title and lost to Miami, even in a close one, people would say, Dan Lanning failed the final against the guy we used to have.
That's right.
F.
Yeah.
So because you keep not moving the goalpost, because the goalpost is such a serious, such a significant, monumental achievement, until Oregon gets there, they're going to be upset that fans continue to say, off-season champion, the O stands for number of national titles. Dan Lanning can't get it done. You know who else people said this about? And this was a common thing at the NFL level for Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Andy Reid, with the Eagles, they said he cannot win the big one. He's got a great offense. They do a great job, but when they get to the playoffs, it all falls apart. He can't get across the goal line to score the big one. He never wins the big game. What a failure. And now we talk about him maybe being one of the top 4 or 5 coaches of all time. Yeah. You're that way until you get there. And the great thing is, every single year, Oregon's expectation is going to be make the playoff and then absolutely make it into the playoff far, or else it's a failure. That's a great place to be. Lanning's got him there. You should be happy with that.
That was Kirby Smart, by the way. I think it took Kirby, I think it was like year 6 maybe. And he lost in the national title, I want to say like his second year, and then they never got back. And that was the Kirby thing. It's like, oh, it's another Nick Saban assistant that can't win the big one. So I get the frustration. And when we come back, we'll actually talk about what happened in the game, because I think that was a case of Indiana really is the best team in the country. They proved it. And Indiana played one of their best games, and Oregon played absolutely one of their worst games. So we'll actually talk about what happened in that game. But you just, this idea that you can never win the big one, we love to spew that. And Joey Harrington came on Thursday, and I said, unfortunately, if they don't win this game, nothing that happened previous to that will matter. And Joey was like, no, I disagree. And I laughed, and I was like, wait and see. Because I'll tell you what, had this game been close, it wouldn't have mattered. We'd still be having this conversation. It would just maybe be a little more upbeat, or they might have been more angry because you're like, oh my God, if Lanning had just made one decision, this game would have gone different. So it doesn't matter. By losing this game, you were going to force this narrative. And so when 3 years ago, right, you don't even make the college football playoff, you don't win the conference, you lose to Washington. And then 2 years ago, right, you're the number 1 team in the country, you make the playoff, and you can't get it done against Ohio State. This year, you don't win the Big Ten, but you make the playoff, you win a game, you win 2 games. Each year, it's gone up by 1 game. And so next year, I guess you get blown out in the national title game, and then we can yell and scream about it.
I'm buying my 2028 Duck futures already, Suk.
But
Smart man.
It is ticking up, but people don't want that. And I think the other thing is, I think it's because it's Indiana and because it's been 2 years of this. I think there's a lot of, we've been building this for 30 years. And those sons of bitches in Bloomington did this in 2. What the F? You know who can say that? Phil Knight. If you're Phil Knight, you get to yell and scream about that. But this is also a different world because Indiana couldn't have existed in this space 4 or 5 years ago. Right place, right time, right school, right coach. And let me state for the record, I love Indiana. I don't care. Duck fan can get mad at me. I want Indiana to finish this whole effing thing, because what you're witnessing right there is the single greatest coaching job in the history of college football. It's the single greatest story in the history of college football. And it's one of the 2 or 3 greatest stories in my lifetime in sports. And I want them to lay the belt to Michael Irvin in Miami and just win the whole effing thing and officially welcome in a new world of college football where Indiana, of all schools, can not just win a national title, but boat race everybody to a national title. Freaking amazing. When we come back, we'll actually talk about what happened in the game and when was the game officially over. Because I don't think it was the pick 6. I really don't. Oregon responded to that. So we'll talk about what happened in the game when we come back. Here, though, Stephen with a sports update.
Now, from the George McCoy and Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
First on the Fan, Duck season may be over, but we're already looking forward to next season. There's some quarterback news for the Oregon Ducks. Luke Moga, the backup quarterback, he decided in the transfer portal. While the Ducks make an addition as well, they signed former Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola. He is committed to Oregon, even if Dante Moore decides to come back to Oregon. Moore is projected to be a top 5 pick, but if Dante comes back, Dylan Raiola said he will be the backup to Dante Moore. Should be interesting to see what happens there. And Oregon State, they may have found their quarterback in the portal. Beavsland Braden Atkinson out of the portal. He's a former Mercer quarterback. He completed 66% of his passes, 34 touchdowns a season ago. Atkinson won the Jerry Rice Award, which honors the top freshman in the country on the FCS level. More transfer portal news is from former Westland High School and Arizona State Sun Devil Sam Levitt. He is likely heading to LSU and Lane Kiffin. Levitt was the number 2 quarterback in the portal behind Brendan Sorsby, who went to Texas Tech. 49ers got the win over the Eagles, but they suffered another loss. Tight end George Kittle, he suffered a torn Achilles tendon in their win over the Eagles. 49ers at Seattle on Saturday. And no charges will be filed against Notre Dame football coach Marcus Freeman after he was accused of battery earlier this month following an alleged altercation at his son's high school wrestling event. For more sports scores and stories in 30 minutes, I'm Stephen Vaughn from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt, missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks, don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Recruiting with .105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Talking some Ducks, unfortunately. Where are you going? State of the program. Fans freaking out. I don't know why fans are freaking out. No one showed up to the game anyways. You want to talk about a bad omen? There was like 9 people at that game. They showed the aerial view of the Orange Bowl. I'm not kidding. With that 90% Indiana, their stadium in Bloomington holds 51,000 people. They're saying that was the biggest attended Indiana game in the history of Indiana. There was 70,000 people at that thing. And they were all Indiana fans. Like, they showed that aerial view, and it was all red, and I was like, oh my God. And then there was like one little corner of the end zone where there was like 4 green people. I was like, wow. You want to talk about not showing up for something? And look, I'm not criticizing anyone for not showing up. That's an expensive ticket. You got a lot of stuff going on, but I was a little surprised that it was overwhelmingly that much red. And maybe that was another bad omen when you just looked at that and was like, does Oregon know? And then you had the pick 6 to start off. But this is where, like, I know everyone's like, oh my God, the game was over. It wasn't. Oregon actually answered, like you mentioned, Oregon answered that, but then the fumble. And that's why it's one of those, I will go to my grave saying that Indiana is significantly better than Oregon. That game is not the regular occurrence when those two teams play.
No.
If those two teams play 10 times, 7 of them are probably like the first game that they played. I still think Oregon can win a game or two in that series if they play 10. And then, unfortunately, I didn't think that it was going to be that. But you get those games where it spirals out of control. And some of that, obviously, is coaching and being prepared. Some of it was maybe the moment was too big for Dante Moore. Some of it was De'Aaron Hill, who had no business being in on pass protection. De'Aaron Hill, by the way, had pass protected the entire season one time. One time. There's a reason why De'Aaron Hill was not the every down back. He doesn't know the offense, and he can't pass protect. And so in the worst possible moment, because of injury and transfer portal, De'Aaron Hill had to be in. And Oregon goes down, scores. Indiana goes right back. Believe it or not, I think the most disappointing part of that game is not Dante Moore. And believe me, Dante Moore did not play good, and he didn't do himself any favors as far as the NFL draft goes, right? Clearly, there was that debate of Mendoza, Moore. Well, that debate got settled. The biggest part of that game that was a disappointment to me was Oregon's defense. And yeah, I know that De'Aaron Hill comes in and it's a fluke play. That's a 1 in a million play. It just happened to be one of those things where, whose fault is that? Is it Moore? Is it Hill? Is it a combination of the two? I don't know, but it was one of those fluke plays. And when that happened and it was 21-7, it felt like the moment was too big. And then at that point, you were playing downhill and here comes Indiana and they wiped the floor with you. There was no response to it. The Oregon offense all year, and we tried telling you this, when they played the better teams, they averaged 18.5 points. This is who their offense was. So to me, was it disappointing that their offense only scored 22? And really, that last score was whatever, right?
I don't, if we're counting like points per game.
Yeah.
The reason that it's 18.5 is you take off the Finney pick 6 against Indiana.
Yeah.
You're taking off any special teams touchdowns. It's how many points the offense has scored. Yeah. To me, that last touchdown, it came from the offense. That was pure garbage time. That is not.
Yeah, they scored 15 points.
Right.
And you could argue they scored 7 when the game was in doubt. So yes, the offense was disappointing. But in their big games, that had been the offense. You scored 17 against Penn State. I think you scored 18 against Iowa. This was just kind of what you did. The offense against Texas Tech basically scored 13 points until the end when Texas Tech was going for it on 4th down. So that was Oregon's offense against the better teams. They scored 13 against Indiana the first time around. Remember, the 7, they scored 20, but 7 of that was the pick 6. So believe it or not, that was Oregon's offense against better teams. But what we hadn't seen was 56. Oregon's defense had not been bludgeoned once all year. And it's funny that the narrative about this game is Dante Moore and the offense and Will Stein, when in reality, in my opinion, when I was watching that, what was Oregon's biggest problem in that? 56. That Indiana did whatever the hell they wanted. Now, when the offense gifts the other team 14 points, that's a deep hole to play in. But if your defense bows the back at all and you force some field goals or you get a stop or two, maybe you give your offense a chance to breathe a little bit. But when Indiana basically scores every time they have the ball, I don't know what you want. But no one's talking about the defense. No one's talking about Lapoy. We're all talking about the offense. And I think, to me, that wasn't where the glaring, oh my God, we haven't seen this.
They are who we thought they were.
Disappointed in the offense, sure, but I've been disappointed in the offense most of the year that it's been very uneven. But this was a defensive team that, and I said going into the game, if they're going to win, the defense is going to have to hold Indiana to 20-ish points, and you didn't. You held them to 56.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to chew on there. One being that as a big picture thing, I would like for Oregon fan to pay attention to something the announcer said that Lanning told them. He said, we have not had a complete game in all three phases all year except for Rutgers.
Yeah.
That's a massive problem. Now, it's not if you have a young team and next year's your year.
Yeah.
It is if you think this is the year you're going to win it.
Yeah.
Good teams, championship teams, play complementary football.
Yeah.
And they play complementary football consistently. This Oregon team did a lot of good things. They very rarely played consistently in all three phases. In fact, again, Lanning said the only game they did it was Rutgers.
Yeah.
I don't know where the narrative, because you and I were on a different place than most people. We thought this offensive line was primarily made up of 5 guards.
Yeah.
Poncho's probably more of a guard. Their guards are guards. Pregnon is great. And their tackles, World and Harkey, are both actually guards.
Yes.
And they got bullied with speed to the edge.
Yep.
And it was a problem in every big game they played. Dante Moore managed that pressure beautifully in Penn State. And I think that's why Dan Lanning was so emotional, because they overcame some of the problems that I think he knew internally they had, and they found a way to win. And he thought, okay, we can build on this. But as teams saw Oregon more, it became more and more apparent to everybody that Oregon's offensive line wasn't very good when they played quality opponents.
Yeah.
So I think that was an issue. Defensively, I think the issue here is they've played great, and I think this defense has been good. I think they've been good the last 2 years. I want to hammer this point home. The narrative in coaching circles is that Dan Lanning and Tosh Lupoi are not particularly creative X's and O's guys. They keep things in front. They're not real exotic when they're blitzing. One thing to notice with Oregon's defense, watch the number of times they send the blitz and it gets picked up. Yeah. When Oregon blitzes, do you know how often it gets picked up? Almost every time, which means you're showing it. Even if you show late, when they show from so far back that they often complete the pass by the time the pass rush gets there.
It does feel like sometimes, and I love Bryce Betcher, but sometimes, hey, Bryce, you don't have to run through the fullback. Oregon specializes in blitz pickup as far as I'm going to try to put my helmet down and run over the blitz pickup guy. And, you don't always have to do
So
you don't always have to do that. You can avoid a blocker from time to time.
My point with that is there are teams that have exotic blitzes, and they show late, and they come from different places, and they're kind of close to the line of scrimmage as that stuff's starting. Yeah. Oregon feels like they understand the concept of that, but have a hard time with execution of that. And they're predictable. And that's the knock, again, from college coaches. So what has happened when Oregon's played quality opponents a second time? Teams have seen what they are, they know where their strengths are, and they know where their weaknesses are. And now 2 years in a row, teams who are good, I'm not saying Indiana's not good, I'm not saying Ohio State last year isn't good. Those are great teams. Not everybody can take advantage. But teams that are good beat Oregon the second time. By the way, that happened with Washington as well a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Oregon's, I think, 0 for 3 when they play a team twice during the year. As far as that, because they played Penn State last year, but that was only in the Big Ten title game. They hadn't played them in the regular season. That's something that's got to get corrected. So I don't know where the disconnect is with Oregon fan. I think there was a disconnect that, hey, second time through, our staff struggles. Let's see if that's an issue. I think there was a really dishonest evaluation of Oregon's offensive line. You heard a lot of the fan base argue they should have won the Joe Moore Award to be the best offensive line in the country. You and I both thought it was a shock that they were finalists. I couldn't believe they were finalists. And then the offense. What your highlights look like against Rutgers and Oklahoma State and Portland State, the Portland States and Oregon States of the world, that's not who you are. No. When you're really dynamic, you can do things against everybody. And they showed time and time again in their big games, man, they look really uneven. Man, it's stopping and starting a lot. They're having a hard time getting any traction all year. And I think Oregon fan went points per game, pretty high. We're a great offense, and that wasn't true.
No, and I'm getting some pushback, and I get it. Someone saying being disappointed in the Oregon defense is laughable, and they go on. Here's my point about the Oregon defense, which I love that we're trying to have, when you lose 56-22, no one played well. Okay. But the idea when your offense is laying a stinker out there, and they are laying a stinker, and you have been a defensive team all year, you have to be able to bow your back. Texas Tech, that entire game, their offense was Oregon's offense. And what did their defense do against the Ducks? It gave them a chance to be in that game. Now, the offense never did anything with it. In the NFL the Chargers defense, the Chargers offense couldn't have been any worse. And what did the Chargers defense do? They gave them a chance to be in that game. And all I'm saying is a team that was built around the defense. And we said that if they are going to win a national title, the defense is going to have to be the one to carry you. And early on in that game, when the offense wasn't doing anything, you needed the defense to do something. And that strip sack was almost there.
Yep.
It was almost there. That's the sort of play that I'm talking about. Now, in some of that, this is why I said, sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way, right? The De'Aaron Hill fumble killed you. And then you had the strip sack that if you get that and scoop and score, or that's a turnover, maybe that's a different ball game. And so the ball just didn't break your way. But that's what I'm saying. When your offense is S-ing the bed, you need your defense to bow the back and say no. When you give up the pick six, right? And you're like, oh my God, we're down 7-0. And then your offense goes down and scores and answers, and it's 7-7. You need your defense to drop their balls and go out and be like, all right, boys, new ball game. But when Indiana marches 80 yards down the field and goes right back and scores, and it's 14-7, all the positive momentum that you had, that your offense gave you by evening up that game, was gone. And so, look, I'm not trying to sit here and say that the offense played great in any sort of way. But when you are a defensive team that has carried you, your defense did not give you a chance in that game. Neither did the offense. But I expected that in some ways from the offense. I expected the defense to be stout, just like you were in the first game, and you were not. Did you get put in crappy spots? Absolutely. But if you're going to win a national title, sometimes you have to be able to rise above your circumstances, and no one did, which is why ultimately that entire game, it's not Dante Moore's fault, and it's not Dan Lanning's fault, and it's not the defense's fault. You got your asses whipped by the best team in the country, and the best team in the country just so happens to be the Indiana Hoosiers, which is just bizarre. Where do they go from here? Believe it or not, after all of that, I think there is still a bright side to this. And we'll talk about it when we come back. A West Coast Bias edition of Primetime, right here on The Fan.
105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Talking the horror show that was the Orange Bowl. I guess, in some ways, at least you made it to your first Orange Bowl?
Peach Bowl.
Or Peach Bowl, yeah. Sorry. Orange Bowl. You won the Orange Bowl. Hey, there you go, bright side. You never won the Orange Bowl full. I get my fruit confused. Yeah, you have the Orange Bowl trophy. It's just the Peach Bowl. That's bright side.
They're collecting fruits.
Collecting fruits. It's like Pac-Man. Now, we want to put a somewhat of a positive spin on it because it is doom and gloom right now. But for everyone not named Indiana and Miami, it's doom and gloom right now. You don't think Ohio State's licking their wounds right now? I mean, everyone is. This is just the nature of the beast. And under the old system, and believe me, the old system stinks. Don't get me wrong. But at least under the old system, you had a lot of people that ended the season feeling pretty good about themselves. But with the true playoff, it doesn't happen anymore. Used to have you win 11 games, you go win a Fiesta Bowl, it's a great season, and you tip your cap. Now you have a great season, you win 11 games, you win 2 games in the playoff, and you lose, and now your entire season is mess.
There was a purpose to those bowl games after all.
There was.
50% of winning teams felt good about themselves.
So as much as this stings, I think when you look at where the trajectory of this program is, when you look at the transfer portal, when you look at the world of NIL, when you look at just the state of what is the reputation of this program, to me, and I know we're up against it, we'll get more in the 4 o'clock hour, and then we'll do some NFL stuff in the 5. But if you're a Duck fan, couldn't you make an argument that by far as this program has come, you've played for 2 national titles, is it even an argument to be made that the brighter days are not ahead? That your program is set up for success unlike it's ever been before?
No, I think you and I said that in the preseason, and we've been pretty consistent. Look at this defense. It's no shock the entire defensive line is set to come back. And I don't know if you want to get that into the weeds with it, but no, this was a young roster. They have a good coach who seems to want to stay for a long time. It does seem like, especially with the commitment from Dylan Raiola today, that there's long-term belief that Oregon is a place to rehab or build up your quarterback stock. So if you can consistently get good quarterbacks, you can consistently recruit top 5 classes. And by the way, let's take a look at the number of portal successes they've had over the last 5 years. If you're a place that just, what is it? The rising tide lifts all ships. Yeah. That whether it's normal recruiting, quarterbacks, transfer portal, that's how they've been. So there's no reason to think that that's not going to continue further. A lot of these programs that are having success are going to at some point have to recruit against your coach is going to leave for the NFL. Your coach is going to leave for Alabama. That's not the knock for the first time in a very long time. That is not the knock on Oregon right now. No one thinks Dan Lanning's leaving anywhere. And I've got news for you. Based on how he's played or how he's coached against teams the second time around, the NFL is not interested. They're not at all. No. Zero interest. Zero interest after that game. Yeah. So he's pretty stable. I'll take stable, young coach who recruits at a top 5 level every year, has a reputation for developing quarterbacks, and gets a top 3 portal class every year. What's not to like about that?
Isn't the worry, though, the team you just played in Indiana, they're past you now? Because looking at the Big Ten, it was Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon.
But let's go back 10 years when it was like, oh, Alabama's past us and Ohio State has passed us and Georgia's passed us. Once you're, there's always going to be somebody else on the block. And once that number gets dwindled down to who recruits better than us, who transfer portals better than us, who gets more NFL draft picks than us, and it starts out as 15, and then it becomes 8, and then it becomes 5, and then it becomes 3. You start to say, there aren't that many people on our level, so the excuses start to run out, but it also means you're in the hunt every year. And here we are. They're in the hunt every year.
Oregon, their entire defensive line forego the NFL to come back. Most of your secondary is young and is coming back. All your best receivers, including Evan Stewart if he wants to, can come back. One of your tight ends will still see what happens. We think one of them is going to go, but one probably will come back and he'll be an NFL guy. See what happens with the quarterback. All of your best running backs were freshmen. See what I'm getting at here? Next year, if Dante Moore comes back, and even if he doesn't come back, Oregon will be a preseason top 5 team. And I think every year going forward, Oregon is going to be a preseason top 5 team. And if they keep losing in the playoffs, yes, it will be disappointing, but you have established yourself. And this is why I said the brightest days of the future or the brightest days of the program are ahead of you. Because never before in the history of the program has it been every year you're a top 5 preseason team. And every year going forward, unless something weird happens, when Lanning stays, and as long as the commitment from Phil and Nike and all that and the NIL and the boosters, as long as that stays, you are in a championship window. And I would like to point out, whether it's Mario Cristobal, whether it's Ryan Day, whether it's Kirby Smart, every one of them had this same knock on him. Ryan Day was damn near fired last year at the end of the Michigan game, if you want to listen to people.
I was asked by Dirt and Sprague. I was called on to do a recruiting segment, and they were like, how is Ryan Day getting fired? Who's going to replace Ryan Day, and how does that affect the recruiting class? And I went, I have no idea. They could still win it.
So,
like, I don't know yet.
Is it a great day to be a Duck? No, it is not. And here's the other one, too. I get why people love to stomp on their grave. I do. And I know we're up against it, but here's the thing. When you have a head coach that's the Zen master and he's ripping Zins and he's all fired up and he's like, today we're the effing bowl and F these guys, and he's all super high tea and you go out there and we're mighty different. Oregon may say that they play for wins and everyone else is playing for clicks. Trust me, around the country, that's not the view. You are the new kid on the block that loves to pound your chest and talk about what a bully you are. So when you get your asses whipped, everyone in the country laughs and it stings. And I get it. But when you are going to kind of walk that walk, be prepared for people to push back and you become the laughing stock. But the beauty part about Dan Lanning in the program is they don't seem to care. They're the Conor McGregor of the college football world. They can get their asses kicked and they'll get back up and keep talking trash and still have that swagger. And so as long as he's there and the structure of that program is there, they're going to be in this position every year. And I don't know, maybe 10 years from now, we'll sit here and be like, oh my God, it's year 9 of this, and we got our ass kicked again. But it certainly feels, at least to me, from an outsider who's not inside the program, not a fan, none of that. I'm an objective, conscientious objector. When I just sit back, this doesn't feel like a team that's a flash in the pan. This feels like Harbaugh at Michigan, Day at Ohio State, Dabo at Clemson, Kirby at Georgia, that's building towards something and is taking their lumps. But if you keep giving yourself a bite at the apple, eventually you get to taste it. And I feel like that is still ultimately where Oregon's going. So despite all the disappointment today, I think the brightest days of your program are not behind you. I think they're in front of you.
And for the record, I was playing more devil's advocate in this situation, but I will say this also. Oregon is losing their coordinators.
Yep.
And everyone seemed to blame their coordinators, yet these other schools want these coordinators as head coaches. They have to be somewhat good. Now you're going to have to replace them within.
You'll have to do it every year.
Right. You have to keep doing that every single season. That is not the not the consistency you want. Indiana's not losing their coordinators. No.
And by the way, we'll talk about this. I'm not certain that they're going to promote from within. You brought up something during the break. Well, when we come back, we got Stock Watch. We got plenty of time to talk about this, but you brought up a point that I want to talk about with the coordinators, because we all assume it's been hinted that they're going to promote from within. I haven't seen pen to paper just yet. So we'll talk about that when we come back. Hour 2 here on Primetime.
What's up, everybody? Nick Costco's here to help you beat the books with Westwood One Sports. Pro football playoff weekend wraps up tonight. Houston, a 3-point road favorite in Pittsburgh. Total of the game is 38. And I really like Pittsburgh plus the points here. Has to be 3. Pittsburgh plus 3. I don't trust Houston's offense. Pittsburgh star wide receiver going to be back in this one. Give me Pittsburgh. Bet smarter and beat the books. Download the BetMGM app today.
You know the rush when you reach that goal, when something you've worked for pays off. That's success. At University of Maryland Global Campus, we believe you should never stop chasing it. That's why we offer a skills-based education that helps move your career forward. Learn how to apply emerging technologies like AI and data science. Build your
weekend, but they are now moving on to next season. In the transfer portal news from Oregon, Luke Moga, backup quarterback, he decides to enter the transfer portal. But Oregon combats that with a signing. Former Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola has committed to the Ducks, and that is even if Dante Moore decides to come back. If Moore does come back, Raiola says he will be the backup. And Dante Moore projected to be top 5 pick, but we'll be interested to see what he chooses to do later. In Oregon State, they may have found their quarterback in the portal. Beasley Braden Atkinson. He's the former Mercer quarterback, completed 66% of his passes, almost 3,600 yards and 34 touchdowns a season ago for the Bears. Atkinson won the Jerry Rice Award, which honors the top freshman in the country on the FCS level. And former Westland High School and Arizona State Sun Devil Sam Levitt, he's likely heading to LSU to play with Lane Kiffin. Levitt, the number 2 quarterback in the portal behind Brendan Sorsby. Niners advance to take on the Seahawks on Saturday, but they will be without their star tight end George Kittle. He suffered a torn Achilles tendon in their win over the Eagles. And no charges will be filed against Notre Dame football coach Marcus Freeman after he was accused of battery early this month following an alleged altercation at his son's high school wrestling event. In the baseball news, Alex Bregman signs a monster 5-year, $175 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. For more sports scores and stories in 30 minutes, I'm Stephen Vaughn from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Your home for Seahawks football. The Fan Sports Network. 105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Okay, everyone, shut up and look at me.
Primetime with Isaac and Suk.
The less I know.
Sports Network, 105.1 and 1080.
Please do not misinterpret the fact that I am talking right now as genuine interest. End of speech.
The Fan.
Welcome in, hour 2, Stock Watch coming up here. We'll do In the News, and then in the 5 o'clock hour, we'll turn our attention over to the NFL, which was a banger of a weekend. I mean, between the two playoffs, it wasn't even close. I mean, the Miami game was interesting, the Oregon game was a blowout, but with the exception of the Chargers game, the entire NFL playoff wildcard weekend was bananas. I think every game other than that Chargers one had a lead change within the final 3 minutes. And the Bills-Jags, I think, had 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter alone. It's phenomenal.
This is the first year that the expanded playoff feels really exciting.
Yeah.
It feels like we've had games where you're like, oh my God. Like the Texans used to play in the Saturday afternoon game every time without fail, like 8 years in a row or 7 years in a row. Yeah. There were so many games that just didn't matter. And that was, air quotes here, supposed to happen this year with Rams-Panthers. And credit to the Panthers and what they've built this year and how they've progressed. Do I think they're on the trajectory to a Super Bowl in the next few years?
Yeah.
No. But that was real growth. You look at the way the Bears responded, opportunity after opportunity against a Packer team that just let them hang around, and then they get over the top and find a way to win. It just seemed like all of these games ended up delivering, but it did on paper. Eagles-Niners. People after the Niners lost to the Seahawks weren't going, well, that's going to be a banger of a matchup. And it came down to a fourth down. I mean, it was close.
Great game.
Yeah, they were good.
I want to touch upon the coordinator thing. Because we all believe, it's a strange, like we all, like we're doing internal searches, by the way, during the break. We're all asking each other, like, wait, has Oregon hired new coordinators? We all heard in December when Stein and Lapoy were taking the jobs. And can we also admit, that's not the reason why you lost to Indiana, but it wasn't ideal that your offense and defensive coordinators were both leaving to go take other jobs. Go ask Ole Miss if it was ideal that 6 of their coaches weren't on their staff when they were playing Miami. Not only did you lose both coordinators, but I think it was 7 staff members total were basically working at Oregon while having other jobs. They were not employed by Oregon. Tosh Lapoy and Will Stein, and then the coaches that are being pulled with those guys to Kentucky and Cal, they're not technically Oregon employees anymore. They were Kentucky and Cal employees. So that's not ideal. Okay, not the reason why you lost, but it's not ideal. But we all heard that Oregon was going to promote from within, that they they already had the offensive defensive coordinator, and Drew Maringer, who was their tight ends coach and kind of co-offensive coordinator, was going to be promoted. But in every article that I've seen, it simply is, and this is from like Duck Wire and like, stuff like that, Oregon Ducks to name Maringer as new offensive coordinator. I have not seen a press release. I have not seen any web changes. I have not seen anything that says these are the new coordinators for the Oregon Ducks. When you go to the Oregon Duck website still, who does it list as the offensive coordinator? Who does it list as the defensive coordinator? So I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but you mentioned something when we were talking during the break. You said the fact that those things weren't official and those weren't signed and like press releases were sent out, do you think in some ways that was kind of holding back? I don't think that's a ridiculous theory. I don't know whether or not that this is a little, Joe Rogan-y and it's out there, but would it shock me in any way if a new face came in on the offense or defense, either as a coordinator or as a quote co-coordinator, to give you some fresh eyes? That wouldn't shock me in any way after what we just saw.
Oregon likes to use two little mini phrases more than most programs. One is on a depth chart, and it's or.
Yes.
This guy, or maybe this guy, or this. The beginning of the season, there's 5 starting ors at left tackle, right?
Yeah.
The other one on their coaching staff is co.
Yeah.
How many different co's do they have? And I think, especially in this era of college football, you need a quarterback mind. And Dan Lanning's a defensive coach, and that's wonderful. He does a great job with that. You don't necessarily have your quarterback guru. That was Coach Stein.
Yeah.
And you talk to recruits and they would say, I really like Oregon, but I'm a little worried about Coach Stein moving on in the last couple of years. You heard that. So I do think they're going to bring in a guy who has a quarterback mind, and I think he might be quarterback coach / co-offensive coordinator. In fact, I think if you don't do that, it's a little bit irresponsible if you're going to call yourself the quarterback factory. And I'm not saying they do that. However, look at their reputation. They just brought in Dylan Raiola. There's a rumor that Dante Moore's staying. If Dante Moore leaves, probably Raiola's the starter. Maybe they go get a Longstreet from USC. But they want starter and a guy to sit for a year. They like that.
To learn the offense.
That Gabriel Dante Moore structure they had a couple years ago. Yeah. Looks like that's what they're going to ensure that that's effective for the athletes, to ensure it's effective for your offense. You kind of need to have a quarterback guy.
Yeah.
And with the way your defense has gotten shredded in the postseason on second look, I would just want an outside guy to come in and say, well, here are your tells, guys. We've scouted you before, and this is what you do. And guess what? The second time we play you, 87% of the time, you're still doing this. Make that 35 or 50% and mix in some other things. And I do think that would help. Now, I don't mean they need an outside voice like some Duck Panic fans said, Dan Lanning needs to go. That's insane. You have no idea what you're talking about. It's kind of not worth bringing up, except I say that to say sometimes getting a new voice in a building doesn't have to come from the very top. It can just be an outside hire to say, have you thought about tweaking this? And I do think Oregon's at a place where they do need to look at their approach coming into playoff games, knowing full well that I have full trust that Dan Lanning's the right guy to be the head coach for Oregon.
Well, whoever it is. So Chris Hampton was the defensive backs coach and the co-defensive coordinator. Supposedly he's the new defensive guy. And then Maringer was the tight end coach, co-offensive coordinator. Supposedly he's the guy. Who's to say that the new tight ends coach or the new DB coach isn't also co? I just think if you're that close and you feel like next year is the year, and especially if Dante Moore comes back, this roster is loaded, and next year was kind of the year that everyone had circled. I just wouldn't be shocked, as kind of what you said, if a new set of eyes didn't come in. Lanning is very self-aware, and that is a guy that leaves no stone unturned. And I find it somewhat hard to believe that he says status quo after the second year of this, everything's fine, promote from within, we're good to go. I think whether it's an actual new coordinator or a co-coordinator that comes in with a different set of ideas, I think that's reasonable. In fact, I think it's more than likely. And I will say there is someone that I trust very much on coordinator hires that comes on this program from a time or two, and he likes Hampton a lot more than he likes Maringer. I think Maringer is the one that I think has a lot of people kind of like, especially with the offense being as inconsistent as it was at times this year.
And I'm with you because I think next year is the all-in year for Oregon,
Yes.
right? Like, I mean, I've been kind of bashing them a little bit today. I do think they're on the right track, but if they don't look to promote from within, it's literal insanity of just doing the same things over and over. If they just want to promote from within, they need to have an outside set of eyes to get in the room and say, look, what is going wrong in these big games where we're losing that, before halftime? We need to get someone else in here. Whether, we can still have Merringer and Hampton be the main guys, but let's get someone else to analyze something. And I think Lanning, like you said, is self-aware enough to realize this and said, look, we need to have somebody in here to help us get over to that hump because next year's the year. All these guys are coming back. If Dante Moore comes back or Raiola, if Raiola's the quarterback, they're going to be a top 5 team. Like, he's still going to be a top quarterback. So you have to put all your assets into one. And I think Oregon's thrown so many assets into the players and all of that kind of stuff. Let's add a little more to the coaching staff, and I think that's the next step.
Next year's a big year because, again, you can't do the Blaze thing where you kick it down the road every single year. And it's unfair to say that it's a championship or bust, but next year is a much bigger, the window is more open than it was this year. All of the question marks that you had coming into this year, you're going to have about a quarter of those going into next year and another year of that talent profile. And so, yeah, kind of one of the last fig leaves, so to speak, is the coordinators. But that's just the reality for almost every elite program. Ohio State faces this. Clemson faces this. Saban had to replace his coordinator seemingly every year. It's the hardest part of running an elite program is that when you're elite, people come and take your coaches. That's just the nature of the beast. And one of the most underrated aspects of being a quality head coach is being able to identify who the next coordinator is.
Right. And you look at it, this is even a problem in the NFL. And you think of how professional it is and how buttoned up things are. But look at the Detroit Lions. Everybody thought, and that's why Campbell said when they lost to the Niners in the NFC Championship game a couple years ago, we may never get back here. And I'm not trying to beat you guys down, but you don't get these chances all the time. This isn't a, hey, we'll just be back next year because things change. Teams change. They lost both their coordinators. They didn't even make the playoffs. That's how difficult brain drain can be. Oregon is experiencing it for the first real big time significantly under Lanning where both guys are gone. It's going to be fascinating to see how they respond. When it comes to roster turnover, they've already responded and they really started to hit the ground running with some of that response today with a whole bunch of
It also may not matter. It may just be Oregon's too talented. They win it all. We've seen Mark Helfrich get to the national championship game. We saw Auburn bro, Gene Chizik, win a national championship. Like Oregon, with all the guys coming back, may just be good enough where they don't need to have top flight elite coordinators.
If you end up with a special talent, that may be enough, or an overwhelming roster. Because we have seen this in both cases. LSU was the double case because you had an overwhelming talent in Joe Burrow and you had an overwhelming roster. And then we've seen the Vince Youngs and the Cam Newtons just be an overwhelming player. And I will say that if you want to say what Oregon hasn't had over this run, they have not had an overwhelming player. And as good as Mariota was, and Mariota was great, Mariota was not Cam Newton. I don't think Mariota was Vince Young. He was greatness. He was close to that, but I do not think you have had the one singular player that was like, boys, get on my back, we're going to go win this. I really don't. Marcus was the closest thing. And if you want to say that Marcus was that guy, I'll buy into it, and you came close. But you got undone by Cardell Jones. You got undone by the 4-string quarterback. And no offense, but I watched Vince Young, and this is an unfair thing to Marcus because Vince Young is one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time, but you could say Marcus was too. He won a Heisman Trophy. I watched Vince Young single-handedly take down arguably the best college football team of all time. I watched Cam Newton lead a very average Auburn team and say, yeah, we're going to go win a national title. Him and Nick Fairley. They were two guys. That Oregon was a better team than Auburn, except for Nick Fairley and Cam Newton. And that is something that I don't think Oregon has really had. It's come close, maybe the one time. But outside of that, I that's the one thing I don't see.
Can I throw out two names for you?
Yeah.
One, and I think they're the wrong position.
Yeah.
One is Penei Sewell. I think Penei Sewell was an answer that no matter who you play.
You can't have that be an offensive lineman.
Right. The other one.
Go ask Joe Thomas what that does.
If Nick Fairley counts, my counter to you is I think DeForest Buckner was that guy. I think their defense was very mediocre for those years, and I think DeForest Buckner was such a force. He made the defense better, and he was a double-digit sack guy, Pac-12 defensive player of the year.
Never once when I watched DeForest Buckner, though, did I say, oh, my God, Terrell Suggs was that way. And Ndamukong Suh was that way. Like I said, it's such a high bar. And that's what I'm saying. Like, those are freak guys. Reggie Bush was one of those guys. And you're talking about the elite of the elites. But one of two things happen when you eventually get over the hump. You eventually just build a team that's so damn good and elite, and there isn't any weaknesses in it. Clemson, right? Trevor Lawrence was not that guy, but Trevor Lawrence had a really good collection around him. Maybe Deshaun Watson was that guy. So you can build a team that's just a monster at all terms, or you end up with one or two guys that are just like generational talent, and you're like, oh my God. And right now, you don't see that generational guy in Oregon, so maybe it is one of those that takes a little longer to build, and you just have to accumulate talent after talent. But it feels like 5 years of this and 5 years of this recruiting and transfer portal and all that, it feels like next year, if you're going to win it that way, it feels like next year is when it really starts, where you can say there's no more, you're building something, it's here. And once it's here, then the expectations arise. Still say brighter days ahead for the Oregon program. It's in a good spot. Coming up next, Stock Watch. Steven's time to shine right here on 105.1 The Fan.
guys a couple of bookies.
Is the hype accurate or a bunch of hot gas? Before you buy or sell, listen close.
It's easy to grin when your ship comes in and you've got the stock market beat. But the man worthwhile is the man who can smile when his shorts aren't too tight in the seat.
Primetime Stock Watch is brought to you by 1-800-DIVORCE. When you need to take stock of your rights, 1-800-DIVORCE is on your side. Call 1-800-DIVORCE today.
Yeah, when your wife is an Indiana fan and is taunting you today and you've had enough of her, call Colin and the boys over there at 1-800-DIVORCE. They'll take care of you. Soothe your pain a little bit. I'm not saying Dirt was getting divorced, but felt like Dirt was on the verge of a nervous breakdown today. As far as I know, the marriage is just fine. But Dirt said that like halfway through the game, he went and shaved his head. Like he was so depressed. Like he was like Oregon was in the midst of getting throttled and like Dirt went to the bathroom and shaved off all his hair. I was like, it's like a bad sort of just.
That's white girl breakup crazy.
Yeah, that's Britney Spears type stuff. He got Federlined. It's not good.
If he starts dancing around with knives in his living room, we've got problems.
Dirt, it's okay, bud. We're going to get through this together. But as far as I know, the marriage, rock solid. I think his wife was there for him. In fact, I think she had to go and like he said she had to finish shaving the head a little bit because he missed some spots.
Women are the best.
Yeah. What you don't want is if you do shave your head in some sort of fit of rage and disgust, then you can't have it be all patchy because then it's one thing to be bald, it's another thing to be like patchy bald, then you just look like a mental patient.
Like a psychopath.
Yeah, it's not good.
In those panic moments, you want the wife to be supportive, right? Yeah. Because you don't want the situation like Baker Mayfield's wife while he's watching Week 18. Yeah. Do you see she posted a picture of him as he's stressed out about whether his team makes the playoffs and put it on social media? I don't want that. Don't make me a sideshow. Just support me. Help me shave my head. Don't take a picture of me shaving my head.
She's playing for the clicks.
Right, yeah.
All right, let's. This is where little Stevie has his time to shine. He gives them stocks. We buy and sell it. Brought to you by 1-800-DIVORCE. What do we got there, Steven?
Well, let's start. We've talked a lot of Ducks. Let's continue with the Duck talk. Dante Moore. He has a big decision to make after Dylan Raiola has committed. University of Nebraska quarterback has committed to Oregon. Now, going into the draft, Dante Moore will still be 20 years old, so very young quarterback. He only has 18 career college starts. Let's go back and look at some of the past number one overall picks, our first-round draft picks with less than 20 starts.
It's not great, I know that.
Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins, Mitch Trubisky, Ryan Tannehill, and Cam Newton. Having all that said that, Dante Moore still has potential to be number one overall pick. And if he's a top 5 pick, let's just say, falls number 5, $46 million contract. I think Dante Moore still needs to go to the NFL draft, even though he could come back, get experience. How can you pass up a $46 million contract?
Boy, I'm with you. I guess I'll buy this. If someone tells me that I'm going to be a top 5 pick, and realistically at the quarterback position, if you are a top 5 pick, that's not going to be 46. That's going to be probably more in the high 50s. Yeah. Goes up every year. You've got 50 million plus guaranteed money. For the rest of your life, no matter what happens, you have generational wealth. Who am I to tell you to not do that? I mean, everyone's like, well, he'll get $5 million to stay at Oregon. There's a big difference between $5 million and $50 million. There just is. So do I think it would be beneficial for Dante Moore to come back? Absolutely. Do I think it'd be better for his long-term potential future in the NFL? Absolutely. I am not going to tell that kid to turn down $50 guaranteed million. So I don't know if that's what I would advise him to do, but I certainly cannot sell the idea of him going to the NFL when, by all accounts, he will be quarterback 2 taken off the board and probably the number 2 overall pick.
Sell. You know what's better than a $48 million contract over multiple years? $48 million a year. And you know who gets that? Quarterbacks on their second contract when they perform well. Yeah. Look, the history over the last decade, the only quarterback to have gotten big money in the last decade with fewer than 20 starts is Sam Darnold. You know who he did it with? His 4th team. Other than that, no one in the last decade has succeeded in the NFL as a first-round pick if they've had fewer than 20 starts. I'd show that to Dante Moore and say, $5 million's great, 48's great. You know what's real great? 400. Come back for one more year. You're still going to be a first-round pick. The tools are loud. He's not a first-round pick based on performance yet. No. It's the tools, and those aren't going anywhere. This is a guy that's, based on his tools, going to be a top 10 pick. Even if he flounders next year, he gets that money, but he puts himself in a position to raise that second contract, which everybody knows is the big money. I'm not surprised we're split here, playing a little devil's advocate, but
it's hard to believe him coming back, he would get picked apart and his stock would fall. So, I mean, look, you could do worse than making $5 million and living in Eugene and living like a king and having a loaded roster like that. I don't know. It's just some of the comments. The only thing that gives me, I thought he was gone, but the way that game went, maybe that is the ultimate bad taste in the mouth. And if you want a bright side, maybe that's the thing that leads him to come back.
Because if you're an NFL team, you can't pick him over Mendoza now.
No. Mendoza's one.
Also, do you think the teams in the top 5 is a deterrent for Dante Moore to leave?
The only problem is every year when you're in the top 5, your teams suck. I did say, if you looked at the draft, I could see a realm. Like, if you did go out, you'd have to fall a little bit. But, if teams were a little soft on him, if you did drop a little bit, like the Rams are picking, I think, at like 13. But that's just, when you're picking in the top 5, you're just in bad franchise territory. Very rarely does a team that's worth a damn end up with a top 5 pick. So just FYI.
All right, super wild card weekend. Not just wild card weekend, super wild card weekend. I'd say success so far, but we still have one more game wrapped up tonight. Steelers taking on the Texans. So right now the matchups look like this for the second round of the playoffs. Seahawks will host the 49ers. The Rams will be in Chicago taking on the Bears. Bills at the Broncos, and then the winner of the Texans Steelers at the Patriots. Every game was pretty good, pretty close for the most part, except for maybe the Chargers Patriots game. But looking at the bracket now, you guys, neither of the number 1 seeds, the Seahawks or the Broncos, are making it to the Super Bowl. These teams are too good. It's too wide open. I don't think those teams are head and shoulders above anybody that I saw this weekend. The number 1 seeds in the NFC and AFC, neither of them make the Super Bowl.
I sell it. Look, I can see a world where the Bills beat the Broncos. I can. If the Bills defense shows up the way they did last week, because the Bills are going to play the Broncos, I don't see a world where the Niners beat the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to peel their skin. They just, at some point, they're just.
So that was more of an Eagles thing.
Yeah. And then you're dealing with the Rams and the Bears. Look, if it's the Bears, the Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl. The Rams, I think that's a coin flip game. If you put a gun to my head and said one of them won't make it, I think I would agree with that. But I just don't have any faith in the other team. So just rested, 2 elite defenses. Defense travels. I mean, the 2 best defenses left in the tournament, I guess maybe the Texans. The Broncos and Seahawks are kind of built the same way, and that does tend to travel in the NFL playoffs, and you don't have to go anywhere. The playoffs go through those home fields. I think one of those teams will ride their defense to the Super Bowl. I do.
Probably, but I buy it, and here's why. I think this is a quarterback-driven league, and if you were going to rank the quarterbacks in the playoffs that are left,
It ain't the Broncos and the Seahawks.
It ain't the Broncos and the Seahawks. In fact, if you were going to pick quarterbacks who might poop the bed, I think Bo Nix and Sam
quarterback
Darnold
left? Bo Nix?
are really high on that list. So I don't personally, when I look at my future prognostication of NFL playoff teams, I very rarely back the horse who I say, is he the worst quarterback left in the playoffs? Generally not my pick, so I'll buy it. I think when your quarterback play is this uneven and this, it is predictably uneven, but this unpredictable, I think you get beat. And we've said all year, there's no juggernaut. All these teams can get beat any given week, and I really think that's the case with these 1 seeds. I'm really disappointed you guys didn't like my sound effect for that. I was really hoping somebody would.
Yeah, it's like you're a regular. What is it, Michael Winslow? You're like the Police Academy guy.
Pretty amazing.
Hot sound effects.
I'll be here all day.
That was great. That was good.
We got one more?
No, I think we're good. We got a break.
Don't tell me what to do.
Sorry.
Look at Steven trying to keep us on the clock. I appreciate it. No,
I mean, we're only like 6 minutes over. It's fine.
No, we're wildly over. I'm not going to ask you one more stock watch. You buffoons, you're way past.
I appreciate look at that. He's just
I can do a quick one if you want me to.
Steven's like,
top of my head.
I think we should just to stick it to the clock.
All right, one word for the FU clock. How about this? Former Oregon running back Jaden Lamar, he is committed to the University of Washington. I am all for these student athletes going to rival schools. I think it should happen more. I think we should celebrate it. What do you guys think?
I do not. This is I sell it. I think that's weird. The Atticus Sappington thing, the Jaden Lamar, I just...
Travis Dye to USC.
I just think that's weird. I'm all for, hey, man, make your money, go where you want, go what makes you happy, but I guess rivalries don't mean as much. I just think that's bizarre. And I don't even hate my rival. I don't hate Utah. In fact, I actually kind of root for Utah when they're not playing BYU. But the idea of any time when I was at BYU going to play for the Utes, that's the one. And I know there's a million bridges in the world of college football, and it's funny that that's the one that I die on. That's a bridge too far for me. I think that's weird.
I love it if it's a return to your in-state high school. He is a Lake Stevens High School grad from Washington. If you transfer back close to home in your in-state commitment, essentially, from your high school, I have no problem with it. You go away from home, doesn't quite work out, go live near mom and dad, have all your family come to your games. No problem with it. I hope Jaden Lamar runs for 1,000 yards, but not a lot against Oregon or Oregon State if Oregon State ever faces.
See, there you go. Extra stock watch. Stick it, clock. If you hate your wife or your producer not giving you extra stock watch. 1-800-DIVORCE when we come back in the news. Here, though, Stephen again with another sports update.
Now, from the George McCoy and Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
First on the Fan, Oregon loses to Indiana in the Peach Bowl. They're now done with their season, but they're looking forward to next year. Some transfer portal quarterback news. Luke Moga, the backup quarterback for the Ducks, he has decided to enter the transfer portal, while Oregon makes an addition also. Former Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola, he is committed to the Ducks, and that is even if Dante Moore decides to come back. Moore projected to be a top 5 pick, maybe a top 1 pick, may go to the NFL, but Raiola says he will be the backup if Dante Moore comes back. And Oregon State, they may have found their quarterback. Thieves land Braden Atkinson out of the portal. Atkinson was the Mercer quarterback last season, completed 66% of his passes, almost 3,600 yards, 34 touchdowns as a freshman. He actually won the Jerry Rice Award, which honors the top freshman in the country on the FCS level. And former West Lynn High School quarterback and Arizona State Sun Devil Sam Levitt, he's likely heading to LSU to play for Lane Kiffin. Levitt, the number 2 quarterback in the portal. And this just came in. Former Oregon running back Jaden Lamar, he has officially committed to transfer to the University of Washington. A little rivalry going on there. 49ers, they beat the Eagles on Sunday, but they will now be without tight end George Kittle. He suffered a torn Achilles tendon in that win over Philadelphia. 49ers will be in Seattle taking on the 1-seed Seahawks on Saturday. And no charges will be filed against Notre Dame football coach Marcus Freeman after he was accused of battery earlier this month following an alleged altercation at his son's high school wrestling event. For more sports scores and stories in 30 minutes, I'm Stephen Vaughn from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work? Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
The home of Primetime.
All right, welcome in. 5 o'clock hour, we'll switch over to some NFL. Got Steelers, Texans. I can't say that I'm excited about this game in any way other than I kind of want to see the Texans bury Aaron Rodgers. I know that's bad because he's like an old man, and they won't get to him because if he faces pressure, he'll get rid of the ball in like half a second and play the most boring style of offense known to man. But I'm intrigued to see Aaron Rodgers against this Texan defense to see if he's willing to actually try to play real football.
If you haven't seen much of the Steelers offense, think Oregon Ducks second half against Texas Tech. It's a lot of quick throw, a lot of run, a lot of like, hopefully our defense scores.
I just
17-13, ready break.
I love when Aaron Rodgers takes the snap and you could tell like pre-snap he already knows.
He's pissed.
He's angry and he's like, F this. He takes like half a step and then throws that little sidearm ball out there. He's like, I ain't getting hit. He's like Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. I'm too old for this S.
I thought Dante Moore's body language was really bad in the game.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
For different reasons, because he was kind of like pouty, unsure, mopey a little bit. Aaron Rodgers has equally bad body language, but it's, I hate my teammates. I hate that you're so far beneath me. I am a football god, and if you guys were better, we'd be so much further.
Yeah. It is, we got July 12th as the year of our Lord 2026 rolls on, and that means it is time for In the News. It is National Kiss a Ginger Day. I don't know why the gingers get a day, but apparently they do. And like, is that a whole thing? Like, you don't like redheads, you do. Like, I don't really have like, if there's an attractive redhead, she's attractive. I don't have like I think Steve is there. Do you like the reds?
I don't hate them.
Yeah, I heard.
I don't.
Glowing into, you know what? That's why there has to be a Kiss a Redhead day.
I don't
because
love
if
them,
you
I don't
ask
hate them.
if people love redheads, they go, I don't hate them.
A wiser man than me once said, I don't look at me. And I think Stephen may follow
Yeah.
it. I don't get to have a type.
If you're attractive and you're going to talk to me, I'm going to talk to you. Like, that's what it is.
I'm not out there fishing for one particular thing. I just cast my net and I catch what I catch.
It's more if you're a female and you're showing any type of attraction to me, I will be interested.
A wiser man. Sometimes you catch fresh young tuna. Sometimes it's an old boot.
Okay.
You're just happy that the sea gives you another opportunity to go out fishing. But today, apparently, if there's a ginger in your life, give the ginger a kiss and tell him or her that you love him.
If you don't like redheads, look up Christina Hendricks, look up Isla Fisher, and understand that you have a narrow scope with redheads.
Go to Ireland. Go to Ireland sometime and put on a bunch of sunblock, and you can be as pasty as everyone else. There's many beautiful people out there. May not be like exactly your forte, but yeah, if you see a beautiful redhead, you're not gonna be like, oh my God, she's a redhead. Nor can you go up and kiss her because it's National Ginger Day. That's assault. So don't do that. It's also National Curry Chicken Day, which,
ooh,
I don't mind the curry.
I love a yellow curry chicken.
See, I'm more of if I'm going to an Indian place, is the only time I'm eating curry, and then we're getting lamb or we're getting goat.
No Thai? You don't do curry with Thai?
Nah, I don't do
wow,
the
okay,
really Thai.
fair enough.
My family likes a lot of the curried stuff because there's Japanese curry too, but really my curry is boiled down to if I'm eating it. Like, I better have a naan to dip my curry into. I want to take a lap around with some garlic naan if I'm dealing with my curry.
Oh, weird. A former O lineman gets reduced to, I have to eat with my hands if it's curry.
You got to admit,
I don't want
it's pretty great when you've got naan and you're just like ripping bread. It's a real Braveheart, speaking of the gingers of the world. It's great just to be able to take like a roll or a bread of some kind and just like dip it in something. It feels good.
It's real manly.
Yeah, it's manly. And it's also National Pharmacist Day, so shout out to the pharmacist. I don't really know, like when you go to a Walgreens, like the pharmacist comes over and I don't want to crap on pharmacists, but like, what do they do besides, like, do you need instructions? Has anyone ever asked for instructions when you get a medication? And they're not making the medication. They just count it from one bottle into another.
I also think that they take a long time to get your stuff. Like, shouldn't they? I feel like I walk up to the counter, I'm like, hey, yeah, my name's Stephen Vaughn. I need my stuff. And it takes them like 5 minutes. I feel like they should just walk back and know where it is.
Yeah.
You guys, it's their day. We never talk about them on the air, and you both just crapped all over. You know what I'm going to say? Sometimes I need medication. And you know where I can get it? A pharmacy.
You know, my
and you know
favorite
where I'm thankful for it?
Redheaded pharmacists. Those are my favorite.
And I'm thankful that the pharmacist gives it to me.
What?
Do I think eventually there will be an AI machine where you put in your prescription, it counts your pills, drops them, and delivers them via a dispensary thing?
Right
yes.
to my house? Yes, that's what I
However, for now, thank you to the pharmacist.
I have to be careful because the BTJ, the missus, her friend group, it's all pharmacists. And by the way, suppose this is not like a like a pre-set up thing. But in her group, she's got like 8 people. 5 of them are pharmacists. It's the weirdest thing, and I would also like to point out that none of them ever have any good drugs when we hang out. What are we doing, pharmacists? This is where I maybe have a rub against the pharmacists. But like her best friend's a pharmacist. There's 2 other gals in that, and then there's 2 gay Asian men married to each other, both pharmacists. It's unbelievable. Shout out Michael and Lewis, by the way. They're fantastic. But I'm like, in what world? You want to know that there's just the universe has a greater plan for you? That right there, where 2 men can love each other and be pharmacists and live a happy, very successful life together.
I have no notes. Perfectly said.
Yeah.
No notes.
I just don't know in what group do you get like that many people of one profession? Like in my friend group, I don't even have 2 of the same people. How do you end up with like the teachers?
All teachers. My wife was a teacher. Is
But
in
do
the
they
teacher
only?
field.
But that's because they meet at work, right?
They meet outside of work too.
Oh, do
and
they?
all they do is talk about teacher stuff, and I just feel so left out.
Both of my parents were teachers. They got divorced. They both married other teachers, and all of their friends are former teachers.
Exactly. And all they do is talk teaching.
Oh, the teachers.
Well, no, now they're retired. They talk about how much they hate kids, but they used to talk about
I
it.
know.
I
Coach
do
Vaughn talks teaching all day. I have no idea what she's talking about.
I do enjoy when the teachers all hate the kids. That's kind of
Oh,
fun.
that's a real thing.
Yeah.
They hate them all.
I was drinking at a bar once and I happened to stumble. It's fine. You're right. I did stumble into a group of teachers. And they all just were talking S about all their crappy kids.
there
And
you go.
I thought it was kind of fun. I was like, oh, this is what you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Not great. Portland police are investigating not 1, but 2 bodies recovered from the same recycling center in North Portland last week. The bodies of 2 adult men were found on separate days. And this was at the WM Portland Recycling Center on North Hunt Street, north of Columbia Boulevard. And let me tell you something. If you're going to find bodies, isn't it off of Columbia Boulevard? That's not necessarily the best thing. But 1 body was found on Monday, January 5th, and the other on Friday, January 9th. Both cases, they are saying that they have sent out the homicide unit, which I would think that that's fair. I doubt you find 2 bodies at the recycling center and say natural causes. The detectives are looking into the circumstances surrounding the 2 deaths. Now, the question becomes, odds that those 2 deaths are connected or 2 separate murders, and the people both had the idea of, well, just dump it at the recycling center.
That sounds serial killer-y.
A little bit, right?
No, not a little bit, a lot. Now, you're speaking to a serial killer expert.
Now,
I happen to be absolutely obsessed
You
with
are,
serial
and
killers.
I'm telling you, it's a little creepy when he gets going on the serial killer
What
thing.
about the toy box killer? Have you told him about that
No,
yet?
that's not cool
Okay,
at all.
sorry.
That thing brought me down a really bad place.
That one's so. Ooh, that one's so bad.
Dude, it's awful.
That it like really
There's, like,
people think
audio
Ted Bundy
recordings.
is bad.
No.
The toy box killer legitimately will mess up your time.
But if you're a
for
serial
while.
killer, why would you dump it at a recycling center? That seems more like mob hit type stuff, like gang violence.
The Portland mob, the Keep Portland Weird mob.
Well, Nemec may be an expert on serial killers, but Suki, you always say you'd be the best serial killer because you know all the strategies.
Not inconspicuous enough. He's a bald-headed guy with noticeable tattoos and a
you
big
go.
beard. He's very, very,
That's the
very
profile.
easy to spot.
Damn it.
You know who'd be the best serial killer is Jeff Rust. Of the people on 105.1, Jeff Rust is inconspicuous. You wouldn't necessarily think, but you're laughing because you realize I'm 100% right.
I've been here a week. Yeah.
It's Jeff Rust, and it's Jeff Rust by a lot.
Now, it does say in the report, now everybody, no information to suggest any immediate threat to the public. So even though they're investigating and they're not saying how they were killed, the murder police are on it and they're telling you don't worry about it. So as of right now, we do not have a serial killer problem. As of right now. We come back. Have you ever wanted to meet a celebrity and get them to sign something? Because if so, your opportunity coming up this weekend, and a couple other stories before we move on to some NFL talk right here on The Fan.
Seahawks football is on
Welcome back in. Time to squeeze in one or two more stories if we can, and then we'll shift gears, talk a little NFL, and then Club 1080. I want to talk about hot ceiling talk. I may have bitten off more than I can chew in a shocking development. So we got some stuff we can play around with in the club. On a little happier note, because a lot of doom and gloom right now. One, it's really sunny out. It's supposed to be sunny and dry all week. In the 50s, that's good. Because everything, when you look up the local police, I got dead bodies being found at the recycling center. Everyone's protesting. People are getting shot out there. One side saying that they're ramming cops. Let me just say this real quick about the whole situation we got going on right now. Whenever you read a headline involving the police, whether you involve any sort of federal troop, I would encourage everyone. I don't want to talk about a lot of these stories because it just pisses everyone off and there's enough of that. Let me just say real quick, everyone take a deep breath and actually wait for some information to come out before you lose your S one way or another. Because I think it's happening far too often now where something comes out and instantly either everything is it's the biggest miscarriage of justice of all time, or everyone is completely faultless and the police were doing exactly as they were supposed to do. And the reality is we have no idea because all it is an initial report. So just keep that in mind because there's a lot of protests going on right now and everyone has the right to protest and make your voice known. And it's scary times right now and what we're dealing with. There's some bad stuff going on right now and it's absolutely terrifying. But I encourage everyone to try to keep a level head and please reserve judgment until we actually see footage of what happened or official reports of what happened, and then try to base your opinion based on fact as opposed to raw emotion of one headline that may or may not be misleading.
And my only thing on that is I've seen reports that apparently there's a video of her memorial being kicked over by an ICE agent.
That's rough stuff.
I don't care. I don't care what side you're on. Like if
it's disgusting.
Whether you're pro or anti Charlie Kirk, whatever. I don't believe in kicking over a memorial. I think that crosses a line regardless of who that person is, as long as they're not a serial killer.
Yeah. So I want a little happier news. The Fan Expo Portland is coming. Are you a Lord of the Rings guy?
Am I a Lord of the Rings guy?
You seem like a Lord of the Rings
yeah.
guy. Well,
of course I am.
So the Fan Expo's coming to the convention center this weekend. I told you I'm going to end on a good positive note. And every Hobbit in Lord of the Rings, including Elijah Wood.
Now, wait a minute.
And Sean Astin.
Stop it.
Yes.
There were like hundreds of hobbits. You mean the main four.
The meaningful hobbits. The meaningful hobbits are going to be at the Fan Expo. They're headlining the Fan Expo at the convention center starting this Friday, going through Sunday. We're also getting Carrie Elways, who's going to be there, of Saw fame, and more importantly, Rob Reiner just passed away. One of my favorite movies of all time that, like, if you had to encapsulate my childhood, The Princess Bride is one of the greatest movies of all time. And Carrie Elways is going to be there.
Okay.
So I wanted a little positive note.
So Elijah Wood, Sean Astin, Dominic Monaghan,
and Billy Boyd.
That's the core four.
The core four hobbits.
That's the Mount Rushmore of Lord of the Rings hobbits, unless you want to throw Bilbo on there. But those are the core four for that series.
Yes.
Sure.
So troubling times right now, a lot of bad news out there, and I just want to remind people, it's 50 degrees and sunny and dry, and it's going to be that way all week, and the hobbits are coming to the convention center, and you look at your authentic Lord of the Rings sword and have every one of those guys sign it for hopefully a reasonable cost. And you can go see, some of the other ones. They got some hots coming as well. So you get some hots coming, some cosplayers. You can go down there, buy some Funko. I like Comic-Cons. I'm not a big collector. I don't get anyone's autograph. But I always like going to those things because I just think they're kind of fun. People dress up and it's kind of nerdy and you get to kind of, again, relive the childhood or whatever. Those are cool. If you ever wanted to go down and buy a sword from someplace and not feel like you're going to get stabbed or like have a Confederate flag shoved in your face, a Fan Expo is a nice place to go.
My best friend who made our logo for West Coast Bias is a comic book artist.
And there's a bunch of those that have come to this thing too.
So he goes to a lot of those Comic-Cons and sells his comics. Or he's the artist for bigger comics, and then he goes with the author. And
all four of the original Ninja Turtles from the original Ninja Turtle movie are going to be there, and Shredder.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
You should have led with that.
Well, I thought I'd live with. I love Lord of the Rings.
I do too.
Lord of the Rings is great.
But the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are.
Can we get Secret of the Ooze? Super Shredder, Kevin Nash?
No, he's not going there. Maybe Vanilla Ice, though. See, Vanilla Ice, by the way, played like the New Year's Eve Mar-a-Lago ball. I kid you not. He did. He got on stage with a Ninja Turtle and did that Ninja Turtle.
Go Ninja, go Ninja, go.
Great
Go
setup.
Ninja,
Hand
go
to God,
Ninja,
that
go.
guy played in front of the president and his friends at New Year's Eve. And he went, not with Ice Ice Baby, he went with the Ninja Turtle
Hey,
beats.
if I was president, Vanilla Ice, Go Ninja Go, Ninja Rap, top 5 song that I'd want played for me.
Yeah, that would be the song I would play when I right before I swore in and everything.
That's our generation, though. Me and Nemec right there, like we're the same type of age. When that movie came out, that song, I have it on my phone.
I'm not even disappointed. I'm impressed.
That makes me
You
so,
ate an entire wheel of cheese? I'm impressed.
makes
That's the
me-
same thing with that song. It's
makes me
amazing.
so happy.
It's great.
All right, we come back. We've got a little NFL game going on right now. We'll keep you updated on that, and we'll talk some NFL playoffs when we come back right here on 105.1 The Fan.
What if your instincts could pay off? With Robinhood Prediction
Now, from the George McCoy and Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
First on the Fan, Oregon loses over the weekend to Indiana, so now they are focused on next season. And they may have their quarterback of the future, former Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola. He is committed to the Ducks. Now, Raiola says even if Dante Moore decides to come back, he will stay at Oregon and be the backup. Dante Moore projected to be a top 5 pick in the NFL, so we'll see what happens going forward at the Oregon quarterback position. In Oregon State, they may have found their quarterback in the portal as they land Braden Atkinson out of the transfer portal. Atkinson was the Mercer quarterback a season ago, 66% completion percentage, almost 3,600 yards, 34 touchdowns thrown. Atkinson, he won the Jerry Rice Award, which honors the top freshman in the country on the FCS level. Former West Lenton High School and Arizona State Sun Devil Sam Levitt, he's likely headed to LSU to play for Lane Kiffin and LSU. Levitt, the number 2 quarterback in the portal. And Jaden Lamar, the former Oregon Duck, he has officially committed to the University of Washington and the transfer portal as well. 49ers got the win over the Eagles, but they will be without tight end George Kittle as Kittle suffered a torn Achilles tendon in the win. 49ers take on the Seahawks on Saturday up in Seattle as the Seahawks are the number 1 seed. We'll have that game live on the Fan. And no charges will be filed against Notre Dame football coach Marcus Freeman after he was accused of battery earlier this month following an alleged altercation at his son's high school wrestling event. And Alex Bregman signs a monster 5-year, $175 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. For more sports scores and stories in 30 minutes, I'm Stephen Vaughn from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt, messy work, insurance companies acting like jerks, don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Sports Saturday with Joe Fisher and
Welcome in just after 5 o'clock on a beautiful Monday, recapping an entire weekend of football. It was a great weekend, unless you were a Duck fan. Hour 1 kind of through most of 2 was college football. We'll shift gears a little bit. We'll talk the NFL here in the 5 o'clock hour, and then in the club, we'll get into whatever we do in the club. Steelers, Texans getting ready to kick off here, getting ready to do the introductions. Still kind of crazy that the Steelers get to host a playoff game, which is always kind of fun. Although I guess the Panthers hosted a playoff game. So if the Panthers can host one, I suppose the Steelers can as well. And, you know, whether this ends up being a good game or not, if it's a compelling game in the fourth quarter, that's all you really need. Every game in that first round of the Super Wild Card, with the exception of the Chargers, which was a close game. I mean, that was a close game throughout until it, 9-0 at some point, although 9-0 felt like it was 50-0. Every one of those games was a banger with the exception of the Chargers game. And even if it wasn't necessarily well played, there was a lead change in the final 3 minutes of every one of those games not named the Los Angeles Chargers. And the Bills-Jags was the best of the games. They had 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter alone. And you can't say that the Niners and Eagle game was well played, but it was compelling, which I think is all you can ask for. It doesn't have to be well played. It just has to be compelling.
Yeah, I'm with you. Every single game of this playoffs was exceptional, and it got started with a game that I thought, frankly, had no chance of being a good game. In fact, the announcers were kind of like, sort of cute. The Panthers are here. The Rams are a potential Super Bowl contender. And as the game progressed, it slowly became more serious. I don't think this Panther team has all the answers, but if you're a Panthers fan, you went from, it's kind of cute, we made it, and some things bounced our way late, so we get to be in it. In fact, didn't they lose their game and they still got in?
Yes.
Is some weird thing?
Yeah.
And then they took the Rams to the wire. They should be thrilled with that.
We'll start there. Let's just go. We'll go chronological.
That's great.
We'll get this, and then we'll give you like an entire 20 minutes to break down the Niner game, because you with your little Niner hat on there. We do need to carve out like a big fat segment for the Niners, because I think what Kyle Shanahan is doing this year is one of the most underrated, least talked about stories in years in the NFL. He should be coach of the year. This is the best coaching job he has ever done. That being said, they're about to get their asses kicked by the Seahawks, and it doesn't change the fact that the best coaching job I've seen maybe in 10 years is being done in San Francisco. But let's start with the Rams and the Panthers. Because when you look through this bracket, we've said all along that none of these teams feel like Super Bowl teams. There just isn't an elite team anywhere in this. And I would include the 1 seeds in Denver and Seattle. In fact, I think Denver and Seattle are mirror images of each other. Two really good defenses with offenses that you kind of, you hope can put together one quarter of good ball. But I think when you look at the team that we thought coming in maybe had the chance to kind of separate themselves, if you're going to get a team that was going to get hot, it was going to be the Rams.
Sure.
And they're on the road playing the crappy-ass Panthers. And that game starts off, and before you blink, they're up 2 scores. You're like, okay, here come the Rams. And then sure as you know what, the Rams find themselves trailing in the fourth quarter and needing to dig themselves out of a hole. It was the most Rams game ever, where if you squint hard enough, you can see the best team in football, but you can also clearly, without squinting, see a team that cannot put someone away and will allow teams to hang around and give up leads in the most maddening way possible.
Well, I thought with under 2 to play, the Rams were up in the first half.
Yeah.
The Rams were up 17-7.
Yeah.
They had the ball at the Carolina 19. You kick that field goal there, you go up 2 scores. And this is not a Panther team that you fear their offense. Let's be honest. Their defense is pretty good. They're opportunistic. The offense is not one where, oh crap, they're going to score 21 points in a quarter. McVay goes for it on 4th and 3 from Carolina's 19.
Yeah.
They don't get it.
Yeah.
Carolina goes and marches down, and right before the half, scores a touchdown. Now it's 17-14. It should have been 20-7.
Yep.
You're kicking off, and Carolina may or may not even push the ball downfield with a young, inexperienced quarterback to try to score in that situation, because at that point there would have been like 1:20 left probably. In the half. I think sometimes we get over our skis on these 4th down. I think Lanning does this. I think sometimes, yeah, sure, it's sexy to put up 7. Sometimes it's okay if you're the heavy favorite to just go up 13 instead of 10. It's okay to go up 12 instead of 9. And in this case, it made sense to go up 20-7 instead of risking it at 17-7. And they didn't get it. And Carolina went down and scored. And that felt like the script where it flipped, where we went from, okay, this is a Rams blowout, wild card win like we expected, to, we've got a football game. And I do sometimes think teams in the margins think they're capitalizing and saying, hey, we're getting an extra 2% chance of winning here if we get it. Sometimes the risk on the backside is 5% chance the other team can come back because you didn't get it. And the juice isn't worth the squeeze on those 4th downs. And I thought that play epitomized where modern NFL 4th down play calling, and where particularly Lanning as well, his play calling on 4th down sometimes comes back to bite you in the butt. We saw it with Oregon, Texas Tech in that first half, and I thought this was a great example of it at the NFL level.
Yeah, and I look at the Rams, and I know their front is good. The secondary is dicey at best. And I don't want to take anything away from the Panthers, who I think are kind of a fun, plucky team. Bryce Young is not a big-time quarterback in the NFL. Now, I like some of the weapons they have, and Chuba Hubbard and T-Mac has been really good, and they've rebuilt their offensive line. But make no mistake about it, this is a team that only scored 14 against the Buccaneers. The Seahawks made them look completely inept. The Saints absolutely made them look inept. And so against better defenses, this has been a bad offense. The Carolina Panthers are like the definition of, we can beat mediocre teams, but when the cream rises to the top and we have to play good teams, especially elite defenses, we S the bed. We don't have the players to go toe-to-toe. So the fact that the Rams defense, which is supposed to be a good defense, it's supposed to be a Super Bowl level defense, the fact that they gave up 31, if I'm a Rams fan, it scares the living daylights out of me. Now, the nice part is you get the Bears, and you want to talk about a team, and we'll get to the Bears and Packers, but you want to talk about a team that shouldn't be where they're at, I give you the Chicago Bears. But if you're the Rams, you have to like your path, because I just don't think the Bears scare you at all. And so maybe this is setting up the ultimate showdown again with the Seahawks. I just think if you're the Rams, you're happy that you survived and advanced. But the Rams haven't looked like a Super Bowl team in quite some time, and that kind of scares me a little bit. I was wondering if a veteran Leighton Stafford was going to come out and just be that fire-breathing dragon and just put all doubt to rest. And not that Stafford wasn't great, but 22 of 42 and that pick, which was a bad pick, I just don't know if I'm a Rams fan how good I feel about eking by a win on the road against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I just think this game was a little bit fluky. You look at how they actually did against Bryce Young. He only completed 21 of 40 attempts.
Yes.
And even of those, he threw for 264 yards. So he's averaging almost 12 yards a completion. They got bit by the big play, which they have in recent years. Their
secondary is leaky.
That would worry me. It would.
Because in the games where they've blown these leads, whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the Seahawks, in the second half, seemingly if their front seven can't get home, it's like it can be a field day there in their secondary. And I think that scares the living daylights out of me.
Sure. And I think that's their kryptonite. And we could go over, and we will, I'm sure, go over all the teams that won and say, yeah, they survived, but they have a kryptonite. And they all do, even though awaiting one seeds, as we've talked about, have some issues. There is no juggernaut team. I think when the Rams put it all together, they're very good. And I think for the first half until that 4th and 3, they had. And if we pause the game right there and they just kick a field goal, you'd say, yeah, the Rams are a Super Bowl contender. They look good. The problem is Carolina puts together a fluky touchdown kind of before the half.
And
from there, it kind of, and that's who they are.
This is who they are. No one gacks away leads and gives you less faith in the way they're going to close out games than the LA Rams, in my opinion.
Is there anything to the two guys that do that, by the way, are Shanahan and McVay?
Yeah.
Is there anything to that?
Maybe the two best coaches in football, and yet
and offensive minds.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a weird anomaly. And you would think with a guy like Matthew Stafford that wouldn't be the case. But even their offense goes through those stretches where they go through these lulls and they let other teams.
Well, they're from the same coaching tree. They're from the Shanahan, obviously, coaching tree, and they both tend to kind of let teams linger. And it happened here. And I think McVay was overly aggressive. And this is the downside of overly aggressive. You let teams hang around. And I thought it got him here. I think this Rams team, you play this game 10 times, they win 9.5 of the 10. And this was that weird extra half where the game is kind of close. And I think it probably shouldn't have been.
Well, and when we come back, we'll talk about the team that they are going to play in the next round. And that is somehow, not sure how, you want to talk about a team that had no business winning their game. I give you the Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers when we come back here on 105.1 The Fan. We're making our way through the NFL Super Wild Card round. Covered the Rams, Panthers, Packers, Bears. You want to talk about a tale of two halves. You mentioned with the Rams, right? They don't kick the field goal to go up 20 to 3.
20 to 7.
Excuse me, yeah, 20 to 7. And then the Panthers down and score, and all of a sudden you got a dogfight. It's 21-3 at the half, and it feels like the Bears are dead in the water. And it's funny, I'm watching that game. I was sitting at a bar, I was watching that, and they put across the bottom of the screen Micah Parsons, who was watching, I'm assuming from home, with the the blowout knee. And Micah Parsons tweeted out something along the lines of, "All right, boys, great start. Have to finish this thing off. You know the Bears aren't going to quit." I don't know what to make of the Bears, but I will give Ben Johnson and I will give Caleb Williams this. There is no team that is ever out of a game quite like the Chicago Bears. They have played the Green Bay Packers 3 times this season. They have won 2 of them. Do you know how many offensive snaps that they have taken with holding the lead?
I don't.
0.
Really?
0. I saw a thing too where teams that are trailing by 10 points or more with, I think it's 6 minutes left in the game, it's 5 or 6 minutes, right? I believe on the season for the entire NFL, we're like 6 and 120 something. 3 of those are the Chicago Bears. It's unbelievable. Matt LaFleur is a really good coach, and we're having to have a debate of whether or not Matt LaFleur needs to be fired because of what happened in that game.
By the way, we mentioned this just last segment. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, 2 coaches that blow leads all the time, 2 prominent coaches. You know who else was on the Washington at the time Redskins staff from 2011 to 2013? Matt LaFleur. They're all from the same coaching tree.
What is that? Oh, if you and I know there's not one thing, but and they're all really bright offensive minds. Mm-hmm. If you had to pick one thing, what is it about those 3 coaches that are all great coaches? If you fired Matt LaFleur, and it sounds like the Packers aren't going to. Mm-hmm. Says that it seems like they don't want a lame duck coach. He's got 1 year left on his deal, and they said they're going to try to patch that together and come up with an extension. Because if you fired Matt LaFleur today, if I was, I don't know, the Atlanta Falcons, I would hire
Arizona Cardinals.
I would hire him tomorrow.
Backflips. Yep.
So what is it about that seemingly, despite all the injuries and everything, you can look amazing in one half, and Jordan Love, 24-46, 323, 4 tutties, no picks, and they lose that game?
I think creative offensive minds sometimes have a tendency to feel like when it's all working, it's just like aggressive, keep going. Because Shanahan famously loses a Super Bowl, huge Super Bowl lead.
28-3.
Right. I think you're so aggressive, you fail to pay attention to little details, right? So you always are going to be more aggressive. Well, part of being more aggressive is risk, right? If you're a more aggressive poker player, you can lose your stack.
Yeah, I think they went 3 and out to open the second half. Or 3 different times. I think all 3 drives basically went 3 and out.
Whereas more conservative coaches, the Jim Harbaughs of the world, they want to win in the margins. They pay attention to the little things, clock management, situational football. They're more conservative with punting, and they're a little more consistent. Mike Tomlin, we would say, is about as conservative as it gets in coaching. What does he consistently do? His highs aren't that high, but his lows aren't low. He's always 9 and 8 or better. That's who he is. And I think you get these coaches, and they're good coaches, but they live and die by the sword, right? So let's be creative. Let's push it. Let's be aggressive. Well, when you've got a lead, sometimes if you took your foot off the gas, you lose that rhythm of the offense, the flow of the offense, where we're riding high. We're a solid 9 on offense at all times. We're going above the speed limit. And it's hard to kind of bring that back and take your foot off the gas in the third quarter, right? And say, let's still be aggressive and find our rhythm. So they take some chances, they're aggressive, and sometimes that leads to blowing leads. Now, it also leads to sometimes blowing teams out, but you go and look at this game, they're up, and this is my example with the Packers and LaFleur. There's no reason with the lead they had, you throw a ball to an offensive line. Now you're being creative and cute, too cute by half. And it's just one of those things where you're that creative offensive mind, and that's the way you want to flow. Well, there's a time to kind of reel that in. And once you think, it'll be fun, throwing a ball to our offensive lineman. Too far. Let's stop doing that. Now, on the flip side, Oregon, the 49ers ran a trick play where Jawan Jennings threw a touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey, and it helped them win that game. So it's kind of that same thing of let's be creative, let's push the envelope. With the Niners, it's a situation where it worked. Here's a situation where it didn't. But watching this game, In the third quarter, it was an absolute travesty. The Bears only had 3 points. I think you went into that third quarter and you look at time of possession and where the ball was. It was in the Packers' half of the field almost that entire third quarter, and they only ended up with 3 points. And it seemed like the Bears were locked down on defense, and then especially in that third quarter, they just couldn't capitalize. And sometimes it was going for it on fourth down and then the dam finally broke in that fourth quarter where they took advantage.
I mean, three of their 4 first drives ended in an interception or on downs.
Right.
I mean,
too aggressive. Again, too aggressive. And those coaches who are too aggressive and they're offensive minded, sometimes they can't get out of their own way to say, no more aggression. We're okay. We just need to have a consistent flow, and it's kind of hard to kind of take your foot off the gas but still be aggressive. That's a difficult path to find sometimes.
I haven't seen a team melt down from one injury to a non-quarterback quite like Green Bay.
Agreed.
When Micah Parsons went down.
They've lost every game, right?
Yes, they've lost every game. And if you want to, like, the stat was when Micah Parsons was on the field for the Cowboys, his entire career, they were a top 3. I don't remember if it was DVOA or if it was EPA. Like, depending on what defensive metric that you went by. When he was on the field, they were a top 3 defense. When he was off the field, they were a bottom 3 defense. And people were like, whoa, how much can one player make a difference? Micah Parsons turns out makes that difference.
And he did it with the Cowboys.
And he did it with the Cowboys, and he did it with Green Bay. No, that was when he was with Dallas.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
And now in Green Bay, you've seen when he went out, this defense fell apart. And now, my last thing before we move on, and I don't know the answer to this, but you're a quarterback guy. I trust your football opinion. So I'm asking the legitimate question here. Is Caleb Williams good?
Yeah. Caleb Williams is good. Caleb Williams needs to, much like apparently the Shanahan-McVay tree of things, he needs to know when to do some of the things he's doing. He's got all the tools, and he tries to do too much. And so there's throws where you go, oh my God.
The first interception he had is arguably the worst interception you will see.
The receiver ran the wrong route.
Is that what?
The receiver ran a go. It was a post.
That thing was...
Look at it again.
All right.
And look at if the receiver runs a post, that drops in his bread basket right in front of the safety. Instead, it looks like a dead duck.
Yes.
Directly to the safety.
It was a Tony Romo-esque. And by the way, Tony Romo had himself a bad weekend as well. Caleb Williams in that game, it was funny because I was watching it. And again, I was watching it at a bar, so it wasn't like I was watching the All-22. I said to myself, after he made the Jordan jump man throw across his body on fourth down, which, by the way, that was the difference in the game. They don't complete that pass, and that game's over. I said to myself, that is the worst throw I've seen all year, and that is the best throw I've seen all year. He is an enigma, because when it's working, I'm like, I've never seen anything quite like it. It's very Josh Allen-esque, but God, the bad is bad. And I don't know where to sit. I don't know whether to ask, like, if you were to say, do I want Caleb Williams as my franchise quarterback? I know in a league where there's not a lot of them, the answer to that is yes. But is he the quarterback that I want leading my franchise? I'm not certain if the answer is yes or no to that. You could convince me both ways.
That would be the question is, can he win you a Super Bowl, or are you going to win with everything else around him?
What scares me with him, because he can make all the throws, and that's why I want him. Right? Because if I'm a good offensive coordinator, I can rein him in with my play calling, have him take his shots. He can throw every shot throw I ask him to. And it's my job as a play caller to kind of keep him under control.
And Ben Johnson has done a nice job of that.
The scary thing with those guys is they are prone to wanting to make the play.
Yeah.
And we saw this with who is the ultimate I just want to make the play. It's Brett Favre. Yeah. Now, he got to the highest of highs.
Yes.
But once it kind of wasn't working, he threw some horrible interceptions that cost them playoff games. And Caleb Williams, as a thrower, has some of that. Where, yeah, I love to have him in the regular season. Do I think I can go 4 games without him trying to do too much and making a mistake? Well, in this game, I would argue he made those mistakes, and they won anyway. The Bears are in a much better place with him than they've ever been at quarterback without him. And I think when you have a guy that shows you that he can make all the throws, especially as a young guy, I'm going to keep that guy and hope that I can kind of whittle away. You know, he's a nice piece of marble that I hope I can turn into a statue. I would much rather have that than the roulette wheel of replacement quarterbacks or taking a flyer. And so because of that, I believe in him. Do I think he's truly elite right now? Heck no. Does he have the tools and potential to get there? Yeah.
When I think about him, and I know he's physically not the same player, but he does stuff that when I look at, I'm like, it wows me, and it reminds me a little bit of Josh Allen. When Josh Allen was kind of coming of age with the Bills, Josh Allen did some of the dumbest S I've ever seen in the NFL, including in the playoffs. And you're like, what in God's name? And when they cleaned up the what in God's name, you just ended up with the oh my God stuff. And Josh Allen, I think, is one of the two best players in the NFL. And like when we look at that Jacksonville game, the difference in that game was, I don't think Jacksonville was bad. I don't think Trevor Lawrence was bad. It's just that Josh Allen was Josh Allen. And that was the difference in that game. And can Caleb Williams clean that up and become not as physical, but the same sort of evolution that Josh Allen
He's
had?
got a little Favre to him.
Yeah.
He's got a little Favre where he can make every single throw, but then he's also going to have the throw across your body interception in the NFC title game with the Vikings versus the Saints.
And he's way more athletic than Favre.
Right. But he has all those skills, like you said, Stu. Like he's making throws where he's horizontal with the ground, basically, and he's just throwing it 40 yards down the field.
And he's not Favre. He's not Favre.
No.
But when you have that guy, and it's Josh Allen rookie year where you go, this is never going to work. He makes way too many mistakes. Patrick Mahomes, this was the scouting report on him in college.
Yeah.
He tries to do too much. He'll never be reeled in. If you find that magic elixir and the right balance, you've got something special, and you continue to bet on that as long as you can because they are few and far between.
Someone asked, is he Josh Allen or is he a taller Kyler Murray? We'll see. Now, someone brought up the fact that in that game, Green Bay had 17 guys on IR and the injuries and decimation and all that, and is that Matt LaFleur's fault? When we come back, there is a team. If you want to know the difference between really good coach and elite coach, one team I don't want to hear about injuries because Green Bay had a lot of injuries, yes, and they managed to gack away that game. There was another team that I don't know what the hell is going on, but they're starting to make me believe in conspiracy theories, and it didn't matter. Somehow they found a way to win. The greatest coaching job this year in the NFL, and I know you'll want to talk about this because your silly little hat, that was absolutely insane what the 49ers did. We talk about that when we come back. Here is Steven with SportsCenter, though.
Now, from the George McCoy and Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
First on the Fan, the Oregon Ducks, their season is over, but they're already moving forward to next year. Former Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola has committed to the Ducks to be a quarterback there. Now, Raiola says even if Dante Moore decides to come back, he is fine with being the back of a quarterback, as Dante Moore is projected to be a top 5 pick in the NFL. But there's been no decision on if Dante Moore will come back to the Oregon Ducks or not, so we will see what happens with that. In Oregon State, they may have found their quarterback. The Beavs, they land Braden Atkinson out of the transfer portal. Former Mercer quarterback, he completed 66% of his passes, almost 3,600 yards, 34 touchdowns. Atkinson won the Jerry Rice Award, which honors the top freshman in the country on the FCS level. The former West Linn High School and Arizona State Sun Devil Sam Levitt, he is likely heading to LSU to be their quarterback with Lane Kiffin. 49ers, they'll take on the Seahawks this Saturday up in Seattle, but they will be without tight end George Kittle, as Kittle suffered a torn Achilles tendon in their win over the Eagles, a big loss for the 49ers. We'll have that game live here on The Fan. No charges will be filed against Notre Dame football coach Marcus Freeman after he was accused of battery earlier this month following an alleged altercation at his son's high school wrestling event. And Alex Bregman, third baseman, signs a monster 5-year, $175 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. The 31-year-old hit .273 with 18 home runs last season. For more sports scores and stories in 30 minutes, I'm Stephen Vaughn from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt, missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks, don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The home
are moving chronologically through the Super Wild Card weekend, and I want to give you ample time to talk about your 49ers because, as someone mentioned, the Packers can lean on we were beat up and injured, but you can't because you were beat up and injured and you were up 21-3 and you lost to the Bears. Meanwhile, the Niners just took down the Super Bowl champs with seemingly, I don't know, I think Steven was playing wide receiver for him. If I would have told you that Brock Purdy was going to throw 2 picks and Demarcus Robinson was going to be your leading receiver, you lose that game by 30. But real quick, we can't get to all of these, and I do, like I said, I want to give the Niners a big meaty segment here. Give the Bills some credit. That was probably the best 2 teams that played each other, and I just thought that was a cool heavyweight fight. I don't think Jacksonville is a flash in the pan. I think Jacksonville is a good team. I think Jacksonville played a pretty solid game. I just think they got Josh Allen. And that version of the Bills is capable of winning the Super Bowl. I don't know if that version of the Bills shows up week to week, but when their defense plays good enough and can cause you some problems and get you some turnovers, and Josh Allen can put the Superman cape on his back against a good defense, a top 10 defense, that version of the Bills, if that shows up week to week, that's a Bills team that can win a Super Bowl.
The Bills team is the team that I picked to win the Super Bowl this year, and I bet them to win the Super Bowl this year around week 16. So that was my preseason pick. Around week 16, I finally was like, I'm going to bet the Bills to win the Super Bowl. And that's why. In a year where everyone has a weakness and Mahomes isn't in it and Burrow's not in it and Lamar Jackson's not in it, who's the quarterback that can elevate his team above and beyond where they belong?
It's Josh Allen.
It's Josh Allen.
Yes.
And the real difference in that game, if you want to boil it down to really one thing, I think the Jags were better in not across the board in 21 of 22 positions, not literally all 21, but in all of those positions outside of quarterback, you'd say, I'll take the Jags roster outside of quarterback over the Bills.
Yes.
The problem is there's a big gap between Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence. And you want to talk about the guy that makes way too many mistakes and just can't be reeled in. That's Trevor Lawrence. We can get to that another time. But give me Josh Allen in a playoffs that I think is going to be about closeness and making big plays. I think Josh Allen's the guy who consistently can deliver it. And that's why I think Denver's a little bit in trouble because everyone's going to be in a situation where it's a close game late. Who do I trust to have the ball late in the fourth quarter in a one-score game to carry his team? Of the quarterbacks, if I'm ranking them, I have Josh Allen number 1, and I have Darnold and Bo Nix low on that list, and that's why I think the Bills could do it.
The best player in these playoffs, hands down, I don't think it's close. The best player, no offense to Drake May, who didn't play very good, but it didn't matter because the Chargers don't have an offense. The best player in this playoff is Josh Allen, and I think there's a sizable gap between Josh Allen and everyone else. Can the Bills do that on defense week after week? We'll see. I want to get to you Niners.
Sure.
When Kittle blew the Achilles, and we all saw it. I love now that this has become so commonplace that we all look for the ripple. And we see the ripple and we're like, there you go. When he blows the Achilles and Kittle goes down, as a diehard Niner fan, were you angry at God? Your chances of actually winning that game? Do you start to believe the conspiracy theory of the Niners practice field being next to the big power station and that being the reason why you can't stay healthy? I need the mindset because as a non-Niner fan, when Kittle blew his Achilles, I literally said out loud, oh my God, like how can this keep happening? Those poor bastards. And yet here we are, the defending champs. They're playing the defending champs. And here we are talking about that version of San Francisco. I don't even know what that version is. They were on starting linebackers 6 and 7 and finished the game with linebackers 7 and 8. And they held the Eagles to 19 points. If Kyle Shanahan is not the coach of the year, then I don't know what we're doing with that award.
To answer your question, and not because I didn't think they could win, by the way, I turned the game off and left. My daughter was going to a laser tag thing. I was going to have somebody else take her. I was like, I'll just take you. I don't care. I went back. I did go back and watch the whole thing because I knew I would be doing this show, but I left. And you can't understand that mentality unless you've been a Niner fan this season. It began with Brandon Ayuk likely Coming by like week 7 or 8, he decides to quit on the team. There's been a social media video of him driving 104 miles an hour past the stadium. Malik Mustafa was going to miss through week 8. You've had at various points in this season, Trent Williams get hurt, Ricky Pearsall get hurt, Jawan Jennings has been hurt, Brock Purdy got hurt. We had a really fun game that was going well, and then Fred Warner broke his leg. Nick Bosa tore his ACL. Renardo Green's a promising corner. He's missed most of the season with an injury. I'm not there yet. In our rookie class, which we were really excited about, Mikael Williams tore his ACL right before the start of the season. Alfred Collins got hurt and missed the beginning of the season. CJ West got hurt around week 3 and came back week 6 or 7. But they said he's so far behind because rookies, when they miss like a month, are behind, that he really isn't going to be impactful. Turns out he was a little bit impactful today or this week. It's not been a fun season. I don't know what to equate it to. It's like, I guess it's sort of like being an amateur boxer, and it's like you're going to win the fight and move up in the rankings, but you're going to break your jaw. And you're like, okay, well, I'll take that one time. Well, now we're going to have your eye socket broken, but you're going to win the fight. So the Niners keep winning fights and just getting broken. And I literally tweeted before the game, I don't have any expectations. They could win. They might not. I'm just praying for no more injuries for next season. Kittle tears his Achilles and is out probably for most of, or if not all of next season. It's been a hard season. It's been the hardest Niners season to watch. And as things progress, this feels like what's missing from this season, a juggernaut. You know who the juggernaut was supposed to be?
Niners?
The 49ers. They were. They fought for the 1 seed with Brock Purdy missing roughly a third of the season with their number 1 receiver not playing.
They were a game away from being the 1 seed, and now get a chance to go up and try to avenge that. I don't know if anyone gives them any sort of chance, but I mean, what they've accomplished this year, even if it ends in a bloodbath and they get peeled.
They could lose by 35, and I'd still say I cannot believe they made it this far. Take any team in this playoffs and take away their quarterback for 6 games. Take away their best 3 defensive players for the entire season starting week 6. Take away their top 2 receivers, then in the playoffs, their best pass catcher remaining. Give them their 7th and 8th linebacker and tell me that they're successful. They're not going to be. And this is the high of that coaching tree with Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur. The downside is you can blow games you have no business blowing, but they're so creative and they're so innovative and they're so good at being unpredictable and finding production from the fullback and tight end 3 and wide receiver 6 that you have a shot any given Sunday. And in that way, this has been an absolute masterclass from Kyle Shanahan. Has the personnel always been good? No. Have I known all the names of the guys on the roster? I don't always know who the starters are at linebacker anymore. In fact, at practice, in the locker room, before the game, they introduced one of their starting linebackers to the team because they didn't know his name. And they still found a way. In that way, it brings me a lot of joy. But overwhelmingly, this is going to just feel like, you know who should have won this year? The San Francisco 49ers. And that's heartbreaking as a Niner fan who the last time we made it to the top of the mountain, I was 8 years old.
When we come back, I want to...
Got nothing for me.
Well, it's just... They are such... we could do an entire hour on this game. So we might not get to the... I did want to get to the Chargers, and we may not get to that till tomorrow. There's just... this was such a... Just an absolute stacked weekend. But for all we talked about San Francisco, I do want to mention that Seattle game coming up and any sort of expectation. But I do want to carve out a little time. So maybe when we come back, because we got one more segment here when we move into the club, I want to talk about Philadelphia. Because I think Philadelphia is an interesting story as well. Because you got really kind of 2 separate things going on. We had all the praise and being heaped upon this injury-riddled team if you're San Francisco. On the other side of things, what do you make of the Philadelphia Eagles? Because they're the defending Super Bowl champs, and yet it feels like every other year we're having this conversation about Philadelphia. And so we come back, I want to ask you the question, is Philadelphia the worst, best team you've ever seen in the history of the NFL? One more segment of football when we come back, and we move into the club right here on 105.1 The Fan. Talking about NFL, we'll get to the Chargers tomorrow, because unfortunately Justin Herbert is going to be the story of that. And I've said all year, I think what Justin Herbert has done this year is pretty incredible. I think when you look at the offensive line that he's played with, the cast of characters around him, I think he has been as a close to a one-man operation this side of Josh Allen. And, they were 11-6 and a playoff team. I didn't believe that they were going anywhere. Again, I thought that offense just with their injuries had real limitations. I mean, for the most of the year, he's been their leading rusher. And once again, against the Patriots, he was their leading rusher, but he had a bad game. Objectionably, that is a bad game that he played. Offensive line be damned. And now we're having to have the discussion of, Justin Herbert, playoff Justin Herbert is not good Justin Herbert. And that's fair. At some point, we have to answer those questions, but we're going to save that for tomorrow. The Eagles bow out to the 49ers. And we're going to get a new offensive coordinator in again, having the answer to the question of Nick Sirianni's job security. We had the A.J. Brown meltdown on the sidelines with Sirianni. And we're just sitting here with arguably the most talented team in football. And it feels like every other year we have to have this conversation about the Eagles. The roster is elite, phenomenal general manager. Their head coach has one of the best records we've ever seen to start an NFL coaching career. I mean, it's insane. 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 win. Easily could have won the other one. You have a quarterback there who's one of the highest paid guys in the NFL, who has had 2 of the best Super Bowls you could have as a quarterback, and yet seemingly now in the regular season isn't even a top 15 quarterback. The Eagles are so strange. So I asked the question, are the Philadelphia Eagles the worst, best team we've ever seen in the NFL?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you. The one thing I will say is this is now 3 years. 2 years it happened, 1 year it didn't, and they won the Super Bowl. Where if you manage to figure out the Eagles, the team that puts the script together of here's how you beat the Eagles, they then have no answer. And I think Nick Sirianni is the worst pivot coach I've ever seen.
I want you.
And if Kyle Shanahan is the best pivot coach, and this is the year of I'm going to have to pivot because this guy's gone, Sirianni is the absolute worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, Sirianni, he came in and he went 9-8 and then 14-3, lost in the Super Bowl, damn near pulled it out. Then he went 11-6. And by the way, that 11-6, they started the year 10-0. And then 14-3, won the Super Bowl, and then went 11-6 this year and bowed out to like the E squad of the San Francisco 49ers. It's so bizarre.
It's an inexcusable loss. It really is.
Yes.
If you're at home and you're the defending champs and the other team is missing 10 of their best 13 players,
and their quarterback throws you 2 picks,
you should not lose that game. And I think this just goes back to Sirianni. I think he has an identity and for each season. And I think he does a great job, by the way, in the offseason of adjusting to what that is. And they hit the ground running. And then once teams figure out who they are, they can't pivot. And I think part of that are the limitations of Jalen Hurts. And I think his limited ability to throw over the middle and some of the things that he does. I think this year they were limited a little bit by changes to their O-line. And Lane Johnson being gone is obviously brutal. But I counter that with Nick Bosa was gone and Fred Warner was gone. So I can't really, but that's a big piece to lose Lane Johnson. Jason Kelce obviously has retired, and Saquon was a shell of himself for a lot of this year after a year in which he had something like 432 touches.
Well, if you want the biggest difference between them this year and last year, I mean, the defense wasn't quite as dominant, but I mean, ultimately the difference was Saquon Barkley was the best player in the NFL last year, and this year Saquon Barkley was just another guy.
He played like a guy who had over 400 touches the year before. He just didn't have the same fastball.
Yeah.
But I just, if I were an Eagles fan, I would seek out more consistency, and I would seek out a coach who has proven to have more than 2 pitches. It's like a closer once you've figured out he's got a fastball slider combo. and you figured out how to kind of fight off that slider, you're just waiting for that fastball to be where you want it to be, and you're going to take him yard. And that's sort of what Sirianni is in the years that you've got him figured out. And I personally, with that good a roster, with a championship window, would not want Sirianni to be my coach. I wouldn't. I don't think he's great with personnel. I don't think he does a great job in terms of relations. I think that he has key players on his team, and there's been rumblings that he doesn't always see eye to eye with Jalen Hurts, and he doesn't always clearly see eye to eye with A.J. Brown. That's tough. That's 2 of their 3 faces of their franchise that he may or may not get along with. I think he's leaving too much meat on the bone, and that would be a situation where I'd say it's time to pivot. LaFleur to me is different because they lost the guy that set the tone for him, and it changed everything for him this year in Micah Parsons. This wasn't that. This is the second in 3 years where someone's kind of put a roadmap together of how to beat them, and they become identityless. And if you were going to define this Eagles team this year, that's how I would define them. They lost their identity, and at no point for a 2-game span after that do I ever feel like they regained it. They just, once they lose who they are, they don't figure it back out.
If you were the Eagles and I gave you the opportunity to wipe one off, do you go away from Nick Sirianni or do you go away from Jalen Hurts?
Sirianni, and it's not close. And I don't like Jalen Hurts. When he won MVP, I said next year he's going to be not even a top 3 quarterback in the NFC, and you laughed, and you're like, who could be better? The NFC has a bunch of crap quarterbacks. And I was like, give me Goff and Dak. I don't care. At the time, Goff seemed like a weird one because he'd just become a cast off of the Rams. But
it's funny, you look at his numbers, and the numbers are roughly the same. He's the same player pretty much every year.
Yeah.
He's going to complete, mid-60s. He's going to give you 25 touchdowns. He's going to give you a handful of picks.
A whole bunch of rushing touchdowns, though.
And he's the same. He's not that much different. It's just, it's funny that our narrative changes about him based on circumstances around him, but he is the ultimate just kind of, when it works, he gets the credit, and when it doesn't, he gets the blame. And the truth of the matter is probably neither one of the things is solely on his shoulders because he is who he is.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a great example of this, right? The 2 quarterbacks we came into this year with the barometer of should they or shouldn't they in terms of moving on. It was Trevor Lawrence with the Jags and Kyler Murray with the Chargers, or the Cardinals, excuse me.
Yeah.
And we said, depending on this year, this is kind of a make or break year. They leave a lot of meat on the bone. They're not great. For the Jags, the answer is, yeah, Trevor Lawrence is not the greatest, but we can work with that, and we can clearly be a contender that wins our division. For the Cardinals, it was not good enough. That's roughly what? Quarterback 17 or 18? I think we would both agree, and most sports fans would agree, Jalen Hurts is above that tier. Whatever that tier is, Jalen Hurts is a tier above. Once you're past that tier, whatever that Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray tier is, I don't think, unless a guy is injury prone, Jimmy Garoppolo, you move on from that because it's too hard to find in the open market a sure thing top 15 quarterback, which, by the way, is not a sure thing. Yeah. Top 15 does not mean you're elite, but it means you're good enough that as long as the pieces around you are good, you can contend in any game. And when you have that guy with the weapons and the defense the Eagles have, I would be really hesitant to move on because let's look at it. Sirianni, I think there are other answers at coach that I could give you. If they move on from Hurts, well, Murray might be on the open market, but you got to pay him. You might be able to trade for Mac Jones from the Niners because he's on another year for like a 2nd or 3rd round pick. You could try to draft the guy. We've seen how that works. I can't even guarantee you get within 2. Russell Wilson might be available. I can't guarantee you're within 2 tiers of Jalen Hurts in terms of the pecking order if you move on from him. I promise you can get within 2 tiers of Sirianni with an upside of much better if you move on from quarterback. So you ask me, that's my answer.
Yeah. It's you win a Super Bowl, you get the big contract, and everyone loves you, but when you make $60 million, people expect you to fill in those holes. And that's the one thing. I think Jalen Hurts kind of gets a bum rap, but Jalen Hurts cannot fill in the holes.
I hate him, and I still take him over Sirianni.
Sirianni, who has I think it's like the 3rd best record since he's come into the league and has a Super Bowl and 2 appearances. And everyone's like, dude sucks.
Sirianni is what the angriest Duck fan thinks Dan Lanning is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. Except he's won the big one. He's been there twice and he's won one. There's never been a coach with a better record after 5 years and a Super Bowl win that gets less respect than Nick Sirianni. And I get it. I can't say I'm in love with Sirianni too. It's just fascinating because normally when you win a Super Bowl as a quarterback or a coach, we kiss your ass. And it takes a lot for that shine to come off. And it took less than a year for the shine to come off Nick Sirianni. And all of a sudden in Philadelphia, we're like, boo, Nick Sirianni. You won the Super Bowl last year in dominant fashion with Jalen Hurts as your quarterback. And it still doesn't matter. That's how good that roster is. That Howie Roseman and that roster are propping up both Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. It's kind of incredible. I think like the rest of the league, like Kyler Murray, you're just sitting around being like, serious? Like there's a lot of quarterbacks that could win Super Bowls with that Philadelphia roster and be thought of as,
and even more coaches.
We'll get to some more NFL stuff. We'll talk tomorrow. We got to talk about the portal, the Ducks, kind of where they go. So, I mean, we could have done 4 shows based on the football action that we had over the weekend. So a lot of meat left on the bone, and I'm sure there'll be some more stories that come out as we go on throughout the course of the day. In fact, we've got the Steelers and Texans on right now, but we got to move on. The Club coming up next here on The Fan.
From the George McCoy and Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
First on The Fan, Oregon Ducks, their season is over for now, but they're already moving on to next season. They're looking for potential quarterback replacement if Dante Moore leaves, and that quarterback could be former Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola. Raiola has committed to the Oregon Ducks out of the transfer portal. And even if Dante Moore declares, or if Dante Moore decides to come back to Oregon, Loyola said he will be the backup quarterback. Moore is projected to be top 5 pick in the NFL, so we will have to see what happens with the QB situation in Eugene. In Oregon State, they may have found their quarterback in the transfer portal. They land Braden Atkinson, former Mercer quarterback, completed 66% of his passes, just under 3,600 yards, 34 touchdowns last season. Atkinson won the Jerry Rice Award, which honors the top freshman in the country on the FCS level. And former Westland High School and Arizona State Sun Devil Sam Levitt, he's likely heading to LSU and play for Lane Kiffin. 49ers will take on the Seahawks on Saturday up in Seattle. We'll have that game live here on The Fan, all the coverage going on there. But they'll be without their stud tight end George Kittle as he suffered a torn Achilles tendon in their win over the Eagles. And no charges will be filed against Notre Dame football coach Marcus Freeman after he was accused of battery earlier this month following an alleged altercation at his son's high school wrestling event. And Alex Bregman, he signs a monster 5-year, $175 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. The 31-year-old hit .273 with 18 home runs in 114 games last season. For more sports scores and stories in 30 minutes, I'm Stephen Vaughn from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt, missing work, and insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
The Fan is live on Hoo-wee.
Welcome in. It is the club. Little programming note tomorrow. I want to say around 5:30. The hotness that is Oregon Duck basketball, because they're having a banner season. But you can hear it right here on the Fan. But we're going split signal. If you don't know, we have moved to the FM dial, 105.1 the Fan, but we're still on 1080 the Fan. And it's come to our attention that a lot of people still listen to us on the AM dial. You, my good friend, still listen on the AM dial.
Yeah, we were specifically told, like, hey, guys, we want to make the switch.
Well, to be fair, it does say 1080 the Fan right here in the studio.
On the sign.
Yeah.
In fact, respectfully, Dusty was leaning against the sign and said, all our signage at this point says 105.1. And I was like, you're leaning on the 105.
Well, like my Twitter handle is Soup1080.
I know. I've brought that to you.
It's been like 20 years of being 1080, so it takes a while. So we have to educate people. It's the learning game. So tomorrow, if you're listening to this dumb program, at about 5:30, if all of a sudden you get hot Oregon Duck basketball and you're like, hey, I don't want to listen to Oregon Duck basketball. Maybe you do. Maybe you're a sycophant that wants to listen to that. And you're like, hey, this is awesome. I didn't know I needed to watch Oregon play whoever the hell they're playing. And you're fine. That's on 1080 AM. But if you're on 1080 AM and you think to yourself, I don't want to listen to Oregon basketball, I would like to hear what those chuckle butts are saying over on the other side. You can flip over to 105.1 FM.
Or stay there if you've done the right thing already.
Or listen live on the app, or go to YouTube, or any of the stream options that we have. You can listen to us a million different ways. So tomorrow the signal splits. Normally we're simulcast, in case you didn't know. FM and AM, it's the same thing. Like this show is running right now on 1080 or it's running on 105.1. But tomorrow with the Duck game, it splits. So just FYI, apparently we still have to educate people on that, even though we've been over here now for like 6 months. But if like you probably just have it.
You can't say apparently we have to educate people. Your Twitter handle's still 1080. We can't say we still have to educate people. I still listen on 1080.
No, but that's just because
we've got to make the move.
You have just sat. Once you program that, you probably just
It's a quick button.
It's a quick button.
Yeah.
Well, and people, it's amazing how many times you have to tell people the same thing over and over and over. 20 years on one thing?
You sound like my wife.
Yeah, it's hard to switch over. I don't even have an AM radio in my car, though. So, like, I don't know, like, a lot of new cars, like, I don't even have the option to listen on the AM. There's no AM radio. There's no setting for it.
Seriously.
Huh.
Weird. Okay.
I don't think either one of my cars has an AM option. Because me and the missus, hers is like a 2022 and mine is a 2025. We don't, I'm pretty sure hers doesn't. Because you can listen, before we made the switch, we were also on the HD.
Sure.
So all new cars have an HD.
Yeah,
okay. So we were, the Wolves. It was like 99.5 HD2. And so I think that's how she listened in her car. But yeah, mine, I remember when I got in, when I got my car, I was flipping around trying to find 1080, and I was like, why isn't there? I was like, oh, there's no AM radio.
Yeah, and lesbians love AM radio. So Subarus always have AM FM. So of course I still have AM in my car because I drive my Subaru.
Steven, are you a Subaru man? Because everyone else here is a Subaru.
No, I got the Toyota Camry.
Oh. That's a very sensible, practical car.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like everyone here was like,
how reasonable.
Buck was a Subaru. You're a Subaru. Yeah. Rob's a Subaru.
We would occasionally touch tips of our keys.
Subaru tips.
Yes.
My daughter drives a Subaru. Well, she had a Cadillac, but then she wrecked it. But the missus had a Subaru, so when we bought the new car, we gave the old one. And so I like to kind of joke with that my daughter now drives a Subaru. And this is it made me think of this. This is a true story. And it was kind of embarrassing, but at the time, it was embarrassing. But now I kind of laugh about it, especially since she drives a Subaru. I want to say it was like 3 years ago for Christmas. Do you do stockings for your kids? You guys, where you just do kind of like you do like little hodgepodge stuff, like little knickknacks.
You mean Santa? Does Santa come to
Santa
our
fills
house?
a stocking.
Yes. Santa
does.
fills a stocking at our house.
Well, apparently Santa made a mistake filling the stockings. So again, my kids are all older. So this is when my daughter was probably 17. And Santa went to like Spencer's Gifts, like one of those shops at the mall or whatever. And they have the little poster tubes that are in there. And like you flip through the posters. Remember doing that when you were a kid? You were like, oh man, sweet. I want a girl in a Lamborghini, or like you want whatever your favorite, I want the Bo Jackson or Michael Jordan poster.
Yeah.
So you flip through and it says like A4 on the poster.
Yeah.
And then you find the little A4 slot and you're like, boop, A4, grab your poster. So a couple years ago for Christmas, as part of the stocking, Santa ended up at like Spencer's Gift, and Santa was getting a poster for the kids. So I think my one daughter got like a Harry Styles, and they were all too old for posters, but I thought it was kind of a fun, cheeky sort of thing. So I think my oldest daughter got like a Harry Styles poster. I think my son, I got him like a Jujutsu Kaisen poster.
Okay.
And my youngest, I think it was BTS. She was into BTS.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, oh, BTS. So I'm flipping through and I see a BTS poster, and I'm like, what? B6, B6. So they're all in the stockings in there. And this was right around the time that she had gotten the Subaru. And there's certain connotations that come with the Subaru. So I think she thinks to this day that it was intentional. It was not. Santa made an honest mistake. So everyone's opening up their stockings and they're like, whatever. It's candy and it's a little keychain or whatever. So they open the posters and it's like, oh, it's Harry Styles. And oh, it's Jujutsu Kaisen. And my daughter unrolls the poster and just looks at me and is like, really? I was like, what?
Oh, no.
And I was like, I was like, oh, crap.
What did Santa do?
Well, I was like, did I get the wrong, like, band or something?
Yeah.
I was like, well, yeah, I got something that you didn't want or whatever. She's like, you want to tell me something, Dad? And I'm like, what? And she turns it around, and it's just two lesbians going at it.
Oh, no.
Like, full nude, but, like, strategically placed. No. It's like two hot blondes, and their, like, bodies are, like, pressed together, and they're all intertwined, not wearing, like, a stitch of clothing, and I'm just like,
You messed up the Battleship poster holder and ended up with lesbians fooling around nude. Nice work.
I was just like, nah. Let me tell you, there is no proper response on Christmas morning when you give your teenage daughter hot lesbian poster action. There isn't.
No.
There is no good explanation for that other than, I swear to God, it said B6. B6, BTS. And to prove my point, Santa didn't even pick out the poster. I asked for help from the employee at Spencer's Gifts. It was like, hey, right here.
He doesn't want BTS. I know what he wants.
I am convinced.
They profiled you.
I am convinced that person at Spencer's Gifts had been doing that all Christmas.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
And if they did, whoever you are, you purple-headed monster, kudos to you. Because that's the best thing. You're making like $12 an hour working at Spencer's over the holidays. That's the bet. I hope you did that 1,000 times over. and that ended up in the wrong hands each and every time.
And there is nothing much worse than retail during the holiday season.
This started with, does Santa come to your house? And then it ended with lesbians making out and your purple-headed monster, which somehow you meant as the nickname for that person, but also has another meaning that you just apparently flew right past, but we'll let it go.
Yeah. And by the way, that poster still exists. Like, it's in our garage. And like, I just, one of these days we're going to find like it needs to be re-gifted, but it's become it's become like the poster of lore.
Right.
Like, you can't throw that away.
No.
Like, that's forever.
It's the white elephant gift that just makes the circles in your house. It makes the rounds.
I should put it up in the garage, like as some, like just so it's there, but it's not. It's just, but every time I go out to like clean out the garage, it's just sitting like rolled up in the tube, like on top, and it makes me smile every single time. I was pretty embarrassed at the time. And
of course.
I don't get embarrassed very often.
You don't. That's
I don't.
True.
It's hard to embarrass me.
I don't think I've ever seen you be embarrassed.
I'm not going to lie. That was one of those where I was like, oh my God.
I only know all of the people in your stories, by the way,
Yeah.
through seeing half of their face bent over your computer because we tape the pod.
Yeah.
And whenever there's like an issue, and it can be really small, like your mic is muted. And then I'll see like half of your girlfriend's face or half of your daughter's face. And I can always hear, because mine's set up right, I can always hear what's going on with yours. And I see half a face and it's like, what did you do, Dad? Or what did you do, Jason? And then they type. And you go, it'll be a few minutes. And type. And that's how I've seen literally.
Yeah.
And your son did this as well. So I saw half of his face as he kind of leaned over you and typed. I've seen 3 of your family members only, exclusively, through half of their face fixing your computer because you don't know how to work your computer for the podcast.
No.
So I know half of these people's faces.
That's the least surprising thing I've ever heard on the show since I've been here.
Not the most computer savvy, but this is my thing. Do you know how much money I have paid those little rat bastards in college tuition? The least they can do is come down and fix my computer.
And he sits there with no shame. He just leans back and is like, I don't know. And they don't. It's not like they can make fun of him because they know everyone in the family clearly knows, like, well, he's not going to get it if we don't do it. So they're like, what'd you do this time? And he's like, I'm hearing rap music in my headphones. Is my girlfriend listening to rap? Why is she listening to, what was it? It was something horribly offensive. Oh, R. Kelly. Why is she listening to R. Kelly? I'm trying to tape this podcast. And they're like, do you have AirPods in? And did you connect them to her phone? And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot. And it's like, we're trying to tape a podcast. For God's
it's easier
sake.
to just not even teach you. Just show you. Just
No,
do
that's
it.
what they do.
Yeah, just do it for him. Don't teach it because he's not going to remember.
And
Like
you'll
I'm the same way. I'm not going to remember. So just do it for me.
You'll see
and we'll be
someone
good.
off camera and they're like, give me your headphones, scoot back, hand me your laptop, stop talking into the mic. Let's figure this out.
That is true. There are often problems, including rap music in my headphones.
Why am I listening to R. Kelly?
You want me to fix a laptop? No. If you want hot lesbian posters for Christmas, I'm your guy.
your Santa.
I'm your Santa. You drive a Subaru and get hot lesbian posters. About one of the few times as a parent that I've actually felt bad. She just was staring at me. Just
How old was she?
It's like 17.
Okay, old enough though that
Oh,
like
yeah.
you could explain.
Yes.
Not like 8, where it's really bad.
I think it would have been better had she been 8. I could have laughed it off at 17. She was looking at me and I was like, I swear to God, that's not that's not what I think. I promise. She's like, really, Dad? This is what you think? I'm like, no, it's an honest mistake. Sorry. For God's sakes. I don't know how we got onto that, but no, it's because you drive a Subaru.
Yep.
And by the way, people saying all cars have AM radio. No, they do not. A lot of EVs do not. Apparently, there's something in EVs where the AM radio can be wonky with the electrics. So a lot of EVs do not, and I drive an EV, so I love when people are like, nice try, idiot, user error, which, by the way, is a fair assumption that it's my screw up for not thinking the car has an AM radio, but I can confirm my little, very practical EV does not have an AM radio.
As a reporter, that happens to me sometimes with a recruit where I'll say, this is what's going on. And they'll be like, you're an idiot. You have no idea. And I'm like, no. I just talked to him on the phone. Like, it's the same kind of, like, I drive a car with no AM. That's
Am I a
where we're at.
moron? Yes. Do I have no idea what's going on with technology? Certain. Am I right about this? Yes. I'm also right about the fact that the Texans are actively trying to give away this game to the Houston Texans. All right, would you sell your dog to a zoo when we come back here on The Fan?
The Oregon
I will say this. Twitter is a just unglorious cesspool of the dumbest, most ignorant, evil, racist, homophobic, awful crap in the world. But live watching sports while being on Twitter is kind of funny. Like the CJ Stroud, who apparently can't hold on to a ball. Like I said, the Houston Texans actively trying to give this game away. The CJ Stroud can't hold on to the football memes. That's where Twitter is kind of fun. That's like the only time that I enjoy Twitter is like watching the Duck game while scrolling Twitter. It's kind of fun. Watching the Texans, especially if it's a game that you don't have any like sort of stake in. I don't care who wins or loses, Texans and Steelers. But watching the who's it? The fat guy from The Office spill the chili with the CJ Stroud with the football tonight.
He's fumbled 4 times already. It's the second quarter. I haven't been watching because I'm doing a show.
Clearly,
he's fumbled 4 times. It's the first half.
He has not lost a single fumble all year, and he's lost 2 of them.
Yep.
So like that's the one time that I think Twitter can be kind of fun. Normally, I would say just stay off of Twitter. It's just an awful, awful place. Like I don't know what that's turned into, and maybe it's always been that way. And I just have recently come around to the idea of, oh my God, this is horrible. But sports Twitter is kind of fun. Sports Twitter makes me laugh.
Sometimes the internet is really good. And you're right. Just like that meme right there, like, CJ Stroud fumbling all the time. It is really good, but I do feel like it is mostly with sports. If you go anything serious, that's when the internet and Twitter gets a big fat L.
It is fascinating to me, like the random, and maybe it's all bots anyways. Like I don't know how many. Like
they say it's an overwhelming number of bots. Like most of your interactions are you're just.
And that's the part it's fascinating to me. It's like. You just got these dudes that are like rage tweeting, and then you like look, and they have like 8 followers, so they're just like just rage yelling into the void, just out there at no one. It's
literally nobody's listening to what they have to say.
We're just so angry and worked up. It's like we have to get something out, and it's like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, blah, and they throw it out. That is such a fascinating thing to me.
And then it's usually the most offensive thing you've ever read in your life.
Yeah. Like
a lot of racial slurs.
I'm only on Facebook for Facebook Marketplace. That's the only reason I have it. So occasionally, like I'll pull something up there. I'll be looking like I'm right now. I'm looking for like a miter saw. So I'm like that's like my big thing right now. I'm looking at hot miter saw news on Facebook. So when I log on there, then it gives you a little timeline, and it's like. I don't follow anyone, but like some like high school people, like there'll be like a group or whatever, and it's like, hey, do you know this person? And you see some guy that you haven't talked to in like 10 years, and he's sharing the most personal, just like awful, evil thoughts he has, and you're like, what? Like, what is that? Like, what are you doing? Like, you just logged on today, and you're like, you know what? F this. I'm going to take down the entire regime with this. I'm going to own the libs with this one. Check this out. No one's going to be able to combat this hot meme and take that I've got. And they throw it out. What is that? What leads people to want to just piss off random people and people that you know? Like you want no one to talk to you, no one to think like anything positive about you. Check this out. Facebook, take it down. Boom.
Got him.
Twitter, boom. Own them. Never going to be able to come back from this one. It's just the dumbest thing that we do. And yet, seemingly the vast majority of us can't help ourselves.
The internet, it turns out, is a bad thing. And I think we're going to get to the point where AI is clearly a bad thing. It's not good. I'm applying for sports writing jobs. Yeah. And there are places now that are like, well, we only need a certain number of stories from you because AI can do a basic gamer now. And you're like, oh, no. Right. I mean, it's getting to that point. It's really scary as they replace more and more jobs. Like, eventually, they won't have people working at Hot Topic. They will just have a dispenser do Battleship poster from a machine that you hit B6. Yeah. It grabs it and spits it out to avoid the lesbian poster error.
Well, I went by...
And that's a good thing, except it's taking jobs. It's taking jobs away. Or do we miss the glory that is the lesbian poster in the kid's stocking that Suk accidentally did?
Yesterday, I was coming back from a morning class, and so it was like I was like 9:30. I was up early and already got something done. So I was coming back, I was on my way somewhere, and I drove by a McDonald's, and I was like, ooh, Egg McMuffin. I'm like, I could use an Egg McMuffin. Just got done working out, so I was like, all right, we're gonna hit the drive-through for a delicious McMuffin, and it was the one off like Foster Road, so not necessarily the best, like the best neighborhood in the world. But I saw the little sign, the exit for McDonald's. I was like, ooh. So I pull off, which, by the way, I think like in order to have that sign, you should be able to have it visible off the freeway. I hate when you take the exit because the little McDonald's sign is there or whatever, and then it's like 9 miles away. Drives me crazy. So I'm venturing down Foster looking for my McDonald's because now I've got Egg McMuffin on my mind.
Your what?
My McDonald's.
Okay.
I need myself an Egg McMuffin. So I pull into there and I'm like, ooh, it's one of the shady McDonald's, like not the best in the world. And so I look at the drive-thru, and the drive-thru's got like 1,000 people in it. And so I did the old, well, I'll just go in. Because a lot of times you see the drive-thru and no one wants to deal with anyone. And I'm like, well, I'll just go in. That'll solve my problem. So I park, so I'm not gonna deal with this. And all I want is my one Egg McMuffin, and I'm good to go. I had a little energy drink already in my car, and I was on my way to a different gym, so I can get my McMuffin. So I rock up. Hand to God, there's 2 homeless people laying in the doorway of the McDonald's, and the blowtorch, which I'm assuming is to light the meth pipe, is like, it's in the lady's hand, and the dude's kind of like out. He's passed out. And so he's leaning in front of one door, and the lady is kind of slumped over him, and she's at least kind of twitching, and she's got the butane flame in her hand. And I was like, oh. And they had some stuff kind of spread out, and it was blocking the McDonald's. And so I was like, so I was kind of like you're doing that, and there's only one way into McDonald's.
I don't do that at Humans. I've never done that before.
Well, I was trying to see if I could get someone's attention.
Right, no, I get it.
If I had a stick, you do like the puppet, but I didn't have a stick. I was like, I didn't know what to do, and I'm in my little martial arts outfit. So already I felt like kind of a stooge.
Yeah.
I had my little karate pants on. I was like, I just want my McMuffin. So now I'm debating whether or not I go to the drive-thru, and I'm like, no, drive-thru's too much. So I kind of wedged the door open a little bit. I nudged him. I don't think he minded. He couldn't move.
No, he didn't feel it.
So I kind of nudged him open, got the door, and I stepped over another human being to go into the McDonald's. So now I'm in the McDonald's thinking, this is your point about automation. So now I'm thinking I'm in the McDonald's.
Oh, we got there.
Made me think of this.
Okay.
Well, I didn't want to tell the story because I kind of shoved.
You poked a homeless.
I shoved the homeless.
You kind of growled at him a little bit.
I shoved the homeless.
Physical contact.
Well, not me, the door. The door shoved the homeless guy.
Okay.
I just stepped over another human being to get a McMuffin. But at that point, I'll tell you what, I had driven too far down Foster to not get a McMuffin.
You're too deep. You're too deep.
I was too deep. I was getting that freaking Egg
committed.
I was getting that Egg McMuffin. I wanted it. I wanted my Egg McMuffin. I wasn't going to go and do my little pajama murder yoga without getting my McMuffin. So I had my Ghost energy drink, gonna get my McMuffin. So I step over this guy and I walk in, and I was so happy. I was like, cool, I'll just walk up to the counter. 1 Egg McMuffin, please. Away I go. So I walk up to the counter, and I'm sitting there at the counter, and they're doing commerce back there, and no one's kind of helping me. So I'm kind of doing it again. Do I clap? I'm like, hey, someone here. And I look down at the sign. Hand to God. Guess what? There's a sign.
Yep.
They got 2 registers at that McDonald's. And guess what the sign says? Use the kiosk.
Yep.
You sons of bitches. I didn't want to go through the drive. I came in so that I could talk to someone. No, they sent me back to the kiosk. Then I had to go back to the kiosk. That thing didn't work. And then when you pay, you punch in your thing at the kiosk, and then you have to go pay at the counter. It makes no sense whatsoever. It was the most infuriating experience I've had. And all this automation, and it's way worse than it used to be. Way, way worse. And the worst part is when I went to, everyone was having problems with the kiosk. And so then we all had to stand there at the kiosk, couldn't figure it out. And then we'd all have to go back to the counter that told us to go to the kiosk. And then we'd have to talk with the guy who didn't want to be at the counter, and he would have to sort everything out. It took me like 25 minutes to get 1 freaking Egg McMuffin. But again, I was in too deep.
Yes.
Long story short, automation is not good. It never works the way it's intended. And that supposedly streamlines the process. That was the most complicated process I've ever had ordering an Egg McMuffin.
But do you blame them, though? Because nobody wants to talk to anybody. Like, if I'm working at McDonald's, I don't want to talk to you. Just do it yourself, man.
I tried, and I couldn't. I had to shove a homeless man out of the way, step over his whatever corpse was laying there, and then I had to work 9 different systems to just get myself one McMuffin.
I know this is the club, but we have some really, really big college football news.
Does it involve McDonald's?
It involves the Oregon Ducks.
Oh, really?
The Oregon Ducks have added Minnesota star safety Coy Parrish, who
one
is
of the best players in the
All-American caliber safety. He'll be a first or second round pick. He has announced he's committed to Oregon. That's he's a top 10 player in the portal. And if you don't base it on position, he might be a top 3 or top 4 player in the portal. Potential All-American.
When Thieneman came over from Purdue, this is, I think, a higher level player than that. It's that level.
The top 3 safeties were Caleb Downs, Coy Parrish, and Dylan Thieneman in that order. Parrish is now a year older. He's that much closer to being draft eligible, and the Ducks got him probably to replace Thieneman, but that's a massive get. That's their biggest get in the portal so far this year.
Now that is a transition. From automation, stepping over homeless people, to not being able to get my McMuffin, to huge Oregon portal news. And I'm here to tell you, when I got that McMuffin, it was so good.
I'm sorry.
It was so good.
It happened 6 minutes ago, and you were starting the meth thing, and you're like, I'm hitting the homeless with the door. And I'm like, should I step in or let him talk about it? I think it was worth the story.
You finished the meth talk first.
I did at least get past the meth.
I did. I felt bad. But at that point, you're committed to getting your McMuffin. So, I mean,
it's a tasty McMuffin too.
He wasn't hurt. You got your sandwich.
No, he didn't seem to feel anything.
And it raised your awareness about the difficulties of AI. I think it's a win all the way around.
So let me just say one thing to the McDonald's on fire. Get your ass together. What are we doing? What are we doing there?
There's one on 212s the same way. You're not allowed to go to the desk if there's something wrong with the kiosk, but you even pay through the kiosk now, cash or card.
No, I had to order at the kiosk and then take my receipt up to the cash register and pay there, which again made no sense whatsoever. If I'm using the kiosk, just let me pay at the kiosk, which is why everyone was in the drive-thru. Well, actually, everyone was probably in the drive-thru because they couldn't get in.
They tried to go in and they couldn't push the homeless man out.
Well, I do want to know how many people wanted to go in. I mean, the drive-thru line was insane. I was like, oh my God. And I wonder how many people like me were already committed to get McDonald's breakfast, but couldn't go in because of the 2 meth heads in front, and then we're like, we're not dealing with this. Hey, someone had to lead the charge.
That's fair,
And I will say that after I stepped over the guy and kind of nudged the door open, like 3 more people came in. I was a bit of a pioneer.
Go.
You're a trendsetter of abusing the homeless. Congratulations.
Just saying. I did have a guy like in a full-on Philadelphia Eagles outfit kind of give me the look as he stepped over him too, and I was like, that's all right, man. I did it too. It's all right.
You're good.
Dude was crispy too. Had a full Eagles outfit. Looked like he was ready to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like Randall Cunningham out there. All right, we come back. Would you sell your pet to a zoo in Denmark? Here though, Stephen with an update.
Now, from the George McCoy and Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on the Fan Sports Network, 105.1 FM and 1080 AM.
First on the Fan, Oregon. They lose to Indiana when they are now done with the season, but they're looking forward to next season already. They are making some moves going forward. They may have their quarterback of the future. Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola has announced he is committing to the University of Oregon. Now, this doesn't even depend on if Dante Moore leaves or not. If Dante Moore goes to the draft, Dylan Raiola will stay at Oregon. If Dante Moore stays with the Ducks, Dylan Raiola will be the backup quarterback. Now, Moore is predicted to be top 5 pick. We'll see what he does. And as you just heard here a couple minutes ago, Oregon Ducks got another big commitment out of the portal. Coy Parrish, safety out of Minnesota, one of the best safeties in the nation, will be in Oregon, in Eugene next season. In Oregon State, they found their quarterback as they landed Braden Atkinson out of the transfer portal. Atkinson threw for just under 3,600 yards, 34 touchdowns last season as a freshman. He won the Jerry Rice Award, which honors top freshmen in the FCS level. Former Wesleyan High School and Arizona State Sun Devil Sam Levitt likely heading to LSU, and Lane Kiffin to play for the Tigers. Levitt, the number 2 quarterback in the transfer portal. And the 49ers will take on the Seahawks up in Seattle on Saturday. We'll have that game live here on the Fan, but the 49ers will be without their stud tight end George Kittle as he suffered a torn Achilles tendon in that win over Philadelphia. And no charges will be filed against Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman after he was accused of battery earlier this month following an alleged altercation at his son's high school wrestling event. For more sports scores and stories in 30 minutes, I'm Stephen Vaughn from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks, don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Pet news. This coming from Denmark, who we may or may not be in a war with real soon, because that seems real cool for seemingly no reason. Maybe this is why. Maybe we've had enough of the uppity Danes. So apparently there was a Denmark zoo. This has started, speaking of Facebook, this has started some sort of Facebook war over in Denmark. One of the zoos in Denmark has asked for patrons to donate their pets. Not for attractions, but for food. Apparently,
what?
Yeah, in a Facebook post, it's the Aalborg Zoo in Denmark asked for people to donate unwanted pets that would be gently euthanized and fed to predators and activities.
Oh my God.
Chickens, rabbits, guinea pigs, and horses form an important part of the diet of our predators, especially the European lynx, which need to eat whole prey that resembles what it would eat naturally in the wild. Which I'm not certain why. Does the lynx care really what it eats? It's like, wait, this isn't what I would normally eat in the wild. That thing's not in the wild, and it never will be in the wild. But it says that the zoo said that we have responsibility to imitate the natural food chain of animals in terms of both animal welfare and professional integrity. This way, nothing goes to waste. We ensure natural behavior, nutrition, and the well-being of our predators. It also says it accepts horses, but at this time, it is not accepting cats and dogs. Apparently, that is a bridge too far. So I ask you, if you had an annoying ferret or a chicken, would you donate your animal to a zoo knowing that it was going to get eaten?
No. I'm an animal lover. Like, you're the same way.
I do love animals.
You have raccoons in your backyard, and you'd like it to live in the house. I don't care what you say. You are the guy that adopts the wild pet, not literally feeds it to the dogs.
I kind of think it's an interesting. I like rabbits. I like guinea pigs, but the idea of like having a pet and then watching it get fed to like a kick-ass tiger, I could see why.
Help me out here. It's horrible.
What if it's like an old pet? I'm not saying you want to get rid of like a. Can you take a dead pet? That's my other question: is what if my pet has died?
How long does it go before it's rancid meat?
That's what I'm saying. Like if my pet is on the verge of death and I know it's going to die and I'm going to have to euthanize the pet, do I take, like, if you told me that I like my beloved animal is on death's door and it's like, look, I'm going to have to put this thing down in a week or two, maybe a couple of days, and the Portland Zoo rings me up and is like, hey, polar bear,
want to see something cool? No.
Isn't that the same?
0%.
Well, apparently it's pissed off a lot of people.
Yeah.
People aren't happy about this. But the zoo is like, hey, these animals have to be fed, right? We have a responsibility to feed them, and the animal's going to die anyways, I would hope, unless you're just like, you imagine like your kid's like a real brat and you hate the guinea pigs, so you're like, watch this.
Dude, this is literally the watch list for serial killers.
Hey, little Tommy, your
killing
guinea pig
animals.
is sick.
This is anybody who donates a pet needs to be watched.
I'm not a big animal guy. See, I'm not. Even I don't want to give up my pet to other animals to die like that.
Well, again, follow me on this.
I'm following.
Hear me out.
Hear me out on this. If you're gonna die, right? Let's say, God forbid, your sweet mother, Mrs. Vaughn, is it's coming to the end.
Poor Grammy.
No.
It's coming to the end. Wouldn't you want to donate her organs so that something else can live, right? Organ donation is a good thing.
That is not the same thing.
When I die, you can take whatever you got from me, whatever spare parts I've got that are worthwhile. It helps something else live.
The crocodiles need live meat.
Yes.
We'd like to throw Sook to the crocodiles when he dies. And your family's like, do it.
Yes.
Wouldn't that bother you?
When I'm dead, you could do a lot worse than taking me out to the woods and letting like the Kodiak bears have at me. I actually think that's kind of a great way to go.
Isn't the difference, though, is I don't want to kill them. Like, if they're dead already, I'm with you. Let's throw them the meat. But I don't want to be actively out there killing.
That's why I said the animal.
Right. See, I'm with you on that
What
one.
if the animal is going to... I've had to put down several dogs, and it's heartbreaking to me. It's like one of the hardest things. Pets are like, they are part of my family, and I have every one of my pets. I've cremated them, and they sit on a little shelf with me, all my little dogs. I've only had dogs. And so that's very hard for me, and it's an emotional thing for me, and I don't take that lightly. But my dog's gonna pass away anyways, and I get a chance to help out a European lynx feed. I think that's kind of like organ donation. It's the circle of life. Then you listen to Elton John. You never take more than you need. Your animal's passing away, and I would want to know what animal, because I'd want it to be a cool animal.
Right.
I don't want to feed like some loser.
Bobcat or something.
I don't want something
It's
lame.
a rabid squirrel, but it loves meat. No, not that.
I'm with you. If it's dead already, let's donate
No.
it. But let's not go
Like,
Here's the
actively
thing.
kill
Like
it.
a
Here's
cool
here's how I know
condor
you're
or
both.
something.
That would be sick.
Yeah, like a
Here's how I
bear.
know you're both wrong. And this is where Sook does the grandstanding thing, where he takes the other side. When Sook moves the goalpost, because it was take your live pet in and we will euthanize it and feed it. And he's like, what if something's already dead and you just want to see it be eaten by something cool? Once Sook starts moving the goalpost, it's because he knows the thing he's talking about is not okay. This is not okay. Because even if you said it's at the discretion of the owner that the animal is near death, there's gonna be the weirdo that's like, here's the 5-month-old puppy I got. I swear it has something where it's gonna die in a month.
I don't want
Feed it to an
that.
alligator.
I don't want to watch.
Right, because you're normal, but there's a spectrum of people that will be donating their animals, and the people who are drawn to this are not necessarily the most rational. So while it sounds like a good idea, if you get the bad spectrum of those people, what you're going to get is people being like, here's a cat you can kill. Where did you get it? Well, my neighbor left it out a little too long.
I just
No,
said,
thank you.
Maybe not. Maybe not all the pets, but some. I had a horse for a while named Patches. I hated that thing, and like my kids and like my wife talked me into getting into it. That never get a horse. It's like the worst thing ever.
They talked you into buying a horse?
No, we got a horse. It's like someone gave it to us, and I had to pay to have it stabled, and I was always. The thing was awful. It was like a nag. It's like the worst horse ever. You're telling me that like Patches at the end, I could feed Patches to like a Siberian tiger? I'm sorry. That's kind of a cool thing.
Can I watch, too?
Yeah, look, that's the other thing. If I donate, I want to watch. Look, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. When I die, if you were to feed me to like a cool animal, I'd be down with that.
All right.
like a killer whale, like a shark.
Just toss you overboard.
Yeah, do you take me out to like the water and like you like bait a hook with me? Just some orca comes along and ha! Like a bear. I don't want something lame. I don't want like a hyena or something gnawed on me or whatever. You gave me something cool. Once I'm dead, what do I care? Feed me to the animals. I think that's illegal, but maybe in some like weird like Congo zoo, you can do something like that. Well,
You can't even bury someone naturally that's not in a concrete coffin
I know. I want to be set
or
on fire
whatever
out in the waters and
until
they tell me
you get
no.
a permit or go through the proper channels.
Let's just wake up. Let's evolve a little bit here, right? Where it's, again, circle of life. What is that thing? Is see ya, whatever they sing at the beginning of Lion King. It's phenomenal. Do that. Send me out to the lion. Yeah, lions would be cool. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my, we're good to go. The lynx, I don't know about the lynx. But again, cool bird of prey. Yeah, I'm on board with that. We wrap it up when we come back here on the club.
I'm cooking on your grill.
The Fan Sports Network is
Thought about do it for us. Went a little long there. About a minute here to wrap this up. Go home and watch the rest of this absolute banger here, Texans-Steelers. My God. If you thought at any point when you were watching Chargers-Patriots and you were like, you know what I want out of this game? Worse offense and less action. I give you the Steelers and the Texans.
I want to watch it again, but worse.
Yes. If you want to watch it, but without the hope of a quarterback actually making a real throw downfield, you're like, yeah, this is like the T-move. Like if you dial up on Amazon, you dial up the Chargers and the Patriots, but you actually do it on Temu, this is the game you get instead. You get Steelers-Texans. All right, back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. We'll see if Rob's back or not. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. If not, the West Coast Bias will roll again. Thank you, Andrew Nemec. Thank you, Steven. You've been listening to Primetime here on 105.1 The Fan.
Friendships of Spain.